Welcome to the opening round of a new era of World Challenge competition, the Blancpain GT World Challenge. Now a truly global championship, it is comprised of 18 races across 3 continental championships from Europe, Asia, and North America. Hi all, I'm Greg Kramer, joined by Calvin Fish and Ryan Marine. And this weekend at Circuit of the Americas as the Global Series begins with the opening rounds at the Blancpain GT World Challenge America. It's a great new evolution, but it's time for us to give you an introduction as to some of the cars. Coming off a rough season can be great inspiration. And 2016 champion Alvaro Parent will be greatly motivated and armed with the very latest Bentley Continental GT3.
Last year was a hard one, actually. Even the races, we were doing really well and starting on a great position. Many things went wrong, and some things that don't normally go just all went wrong. So we're hoping for the total opposite this year, and we're really looking forward to getting some good results and putting some good performances in.
If Scotland's Ryan Dial's name is on the entry list, he must be taken seriously. And in Pro-Am, he will be co-driving in the DXDT Racing Mercedes AMG GT3.
It's a great championship. We get to go to cool venues around the US. So, GT3 cars, I think, have kind of changed the scope of racing over the past few years, and it's made affordable, fun endurance racing. I think it's going to be pretty action-packed.
Also in the Pro-Am class is Canada's Martin Barkey, a former GT4 Pro winner, returning to the series and stepping up to GT3 in a potent Acura NSX.
I'm brand new to GT3, so I'm really learning the platform quickly. With this group and this level, there's going to be some great racing. There's going to be some great bumper-to-bumper, door-to-door. I know a lot of the AMs that I'm racing against. There's still some guys I need to meet and greet, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be very competitive, so it's going to be pretty exciting to see who brings the best game on which track and which day.
Finally, returning to the series is 2017 overall champ and America's only Porsche factory driver, Patrick Long, and the brand new GT3R.
Returning to the championship has a new look, a lot of new faces, defending champions that we haven't raced against, so lots of things to get up to speed with, but I'm excited to be back with this organization. I've been with them the last 4 years here at Stateside, and that trust, the continuity and the relationships that we have between the engineering staff and the drivers, that always means a lot in motorsport.
Speaking of Pat, it's time for the Porsche Track Guide, and you're in for a treat as he takes you around a hot lap of Circuit of the Americas.
Welcome to Austin, Texas and Circuit of the Americas. I'm Patrick Long, driver of the 58 Wright Motorsports GT3R, and this is your Porsche Track Preview. 133 feet of elevation here into Turn 1. This is a 3.4 mile circuit. There's tight, technical, twisty bits, hairpins like Turn 1 here, clicking up to second gear, and flat out sections like this. Turn 2 right-hander, top of 4th gear, up into 5th gear, well over 130 miles an hour, turning in flat out. These orange apex turtles here will end your day. So you're kissing them with the front tire, but if you run over them, you're gonna bend your toe, your mechanics won't be happy with you, and your performance will be lacking. All tight and twisty in here. 3rd gear, this is turns 9 and 10. You're climbing. Your right side tires are up on the apron. Again, we're using all the road and then some here in these FIA grade tracks. The officials have said that all the racetrack is ours. It's painted black. Red and white chevron curbs are fair game, but past the white lines, you're going to start to have track limit calls. This is turn 11, 1st gear, onto the back straightaway. Longest straightaway of the racetrack, up over 150 miles an hour. Top gear, take a breath, grab 6th gear. There's a lot of slipstreaming and dive bombing that will happen down into turn 12. As you see, it's very tight and it's a late apex. It's a wide open invitation for your competition to try and outbrake you. You'll see 3 and 4 wide into this corner, but you're not going to get through the exit with more than 1.5 cars. Someone always loses out. Turns 13, double apex, low 1st gear, patience. Add throttle, pick your eyes up, using all the road on the exit. You're almost there, into the 3rd sector. You're still down in some 1st gear corners, very technical. You can wear your rear tires out if you're too aggressive on the throttle. Final high-speed complex, turns 16, 17, and 18. Triple right, little bit of steering adjustment, trying to find that balance in practice and qualifying so that your tires are there at the end of the race. Penultimate corner, turn 19, all the road on the apex, all the road on the exit. Early throttle, you're almost there. Turn 20, final corner, late apex, good overtaking opportunity. 2nd gear, hard on the throttle, through the finish line. 1 lap at Circuit of the Americas, COTA in Austin, Texas.
Now, there you have it. That is an awesome lap around a truly world-class facility here. And now we take a look at a world-class field at a truly awesome facility here in a front row sweep of qualifying by the K-Pax Bentleys, Cal.
Yeah, they were super impressive, and there wasn't much in it. Half a tenth essentially between Soucek and Rodrigo Baptista coming off that dominating final round of the championship in 2018.
Yeah, just fantastic. And, of course, the tracks that this series, both in the Blancpain GT World Challenge Americas Championship as well as the global Blancpain GT World Challenge, are just top-tier facilities. And you would expect that when you've got this level of vehicle in terms of the manufacturers and these stunning GT3 cars, but also the teams and the drivers. They are the best in the world, and it's fun to see them get out on tracks that they can really show their stuff.
Oh, absolutely. When you look at the lineup of the venues for this year, Greg, we start here at the state-of-the-art facility, a Formula One circuit of the Americas, but then the heart of the season is really classic venues like Road America, like the Glen, and then we finish off with a spectacular finish at Las Vegas. So it'll be a great grand finale.
Yeah, and the next round is Virginia International Raceway.
And get much better than that.
Paul Newman put it great when he said, if there truly is a heaven on earth, it must be VIR. And the season just goes better and better from a track perspective, even from that standpoint. But just take a look at this field, and we have champions returning to defend. We've got former champions coming back into the championship, whether it's team or driver, and it got new teams coming in. The 111 competition team, a two-car Ferrari program. It's just strength to strength, isn't it?
6 different manufacturers. Great to see BMW back on the grid. We've got 2 Acuras, going to be joined by a third with real-time racing returning to competition at the next round of the championship. VIR with Dane Cameron and Brett Curtis. That'll be fun to watch those 2 guys go at it. So just all of the news in the off-season has been great. It just kept coming. Every week there was a new announcement, it seemed, and the grid just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
And great to see James Safronis and Brent Holden back in GT3 level competition. James, of course, having a tremendous season last year in GT4, but making that change as well. And you pointed out, I think one of the great stories here is what we've seen from Racer's Edge, and they're stepping up to GT3, bringing the new Evo Acura NSX. Martin Barkey and then Kyle Marcelli in the second qualifying session had that car up at the sharp end of things. So, I mean, the competition at the front of this field is just stellar.
It really is. There's going to be some big surprises, and I think, when you look at that grid, I mean, no disrespect to young Daniel Morad, but I didn't expect to see him be the fastest Porsche on the grid here today, well ahead of his Porsche stablemates, Hensler and Holzer. So some great performances in qualifying here today.
Yeah, and a good look there at Andy Soucek. Just great caliber drivers here joining the regulars from K-Pax that we've come to know over the last few years, and Alvaro Parent and Rodrigo Baptista, but Soucek and Soule, just a world-class talent.
And they have experience. This is a different Bentley to the one that the K-Pax team performed with last year. They scooped these up at the end of the 8 hour at the end of the season, brought them over, but Soule and Soucek, they have experience with this particular car. But Baptista, as we're looking at his eyes right now, what a young man he is, going places in this sport. And he was only half a tenth off his more experienced teammate to line up alongside on the outside of the front row.
Well, I basically said when everybody says, do you think, is Baptista the real deal? Does he have a future in the sport? I look at him and I go, 2 words, Watkins Glen from last year when he dominated the best, some of the best GT drivers in the field. Speaking of which, here's Miguel Molina, who of course teams with Tony Vilander, the defending overall and Sprint X champions, and they are back to defend. That is great news. But you talked about the new Bentley, the new Porsche GT3R is exactly that, brand new. I asked John Wright, I said, what from the old car is similar to the new car? And he goes, well, the rear wing profile is kind of similar. Otherwise, he said, it's brand new. And then the Evo on that Acura NSX, that car is just spectacular, and these manufacturers just keep stepping up, don't they?
They do, and they keep tweaking it, and I think Porsche is one model of car in general. It's amazing how they can just keep making it better and better with slight adjustments.
Well, and one thing they did with the car that was fairly significant is for the first time in the 911 platform, I think John Wright said since the 1998 Le Mans GT1 car, is that double wishbone at the front as opposed to a McPherson strut. And he said it has given us so much more adjustability at the front end of the car. And he said we still have the engine in the back. He said, but having a little more adjustability with that front suspension allows us to neutralize that even more. And he said this car is just phenomenal. So
yeah, I think they're just They're starting to tweak on it. I think they're going to get quicker and quicker, and the intensity is going to ramp up as we go from round to round.
And there's lots of them here this year. We just got the signal to start up the motors, so we are getting ready to go. Let's talk about a couple of the changes this year. It's all Sprint X. There's no Sprint Championship in the GT3 platform this year, but there's a big change to the Sprint X format itself. A couple of them.
Yeah, well, the biggest one is the length of the race is now 90 minutes, so there's a mandatory driver change that has to occur, and they'll need fuel at the same time. So there's a pit stop minimum delta they need to meet of 70 seconds, which is it's going to be tight. You've got to be really on the ball to get a 4-tire change done, which is mandatory as well. So there's a lot of work that will be done during that window that happens between minute 40 and 50 of the race, of the 90-minute race. So basically right bang in the middle. And some of these teams have a lot more experience with a full-service pit stop than some of the others, so that could be a factor in the early going of this championship season.
Well, it's interesting, you know, a few of the teams, as you said it's going to be tough for us to get this done in 70 seconds. I like the concept of you set that minimum window below what you could achieve, because then it puts it truly into the crew's hands. And the crews deserve, a little bit of a moment there by one of the 111 machines, the 99 entry, having I think that's Alfred Caola in the 111 competition machine. And hey, it's cold. And
it's really cold.
And these guys haven't been out on this track for a while.
It's about 50-degree ambient, but it seems a lot colder than that when you're out there.
Truly
I'm certain that those Pirelli P0s are feeling the effect of it as well. It'll certainly have woken up that driver with that quick spin there. No harm, no foul. Looks like he's continued, and without any damage to the race car, but that will have woken him up very quickly.
It gets the blood pumping. And so, working at this, one of the things, yes, you were talking about Daniel Murad right there with that other great qualifying effort, but having Wright Motorsports back with 2017 overall and sprint champion, Patrick Long is just a great addition, return to this championship. And chatting with Miguel Molina, he was saying that, he said, we know this Ferrari. He said, other cars are newer. Some have an Evo on it. We had our Evo last year, but he said this car, especially as the race unfolds, just seems to get stronger.
It does, and they'll be looking for a strong start to the season because they would anticipate, for example, the Capex team will get stronger as they start to get used to that Bentley and know its nuances and where it's strong and where it's weak and start to work on that. So I think for Molina and Vilander, teamed together for the very first time last year, immediately went on a rampage winning races together. They need to get big points on the board early, I feel, because the Capex team could come back at them, but they got to get around them first. Well, you can see menacing up front, sweeping the front row.
Well, and that's the story, I think, is that last year and the previous years, the Bentley, the older generation Bentley, wasn't particularly great at this track, and it swept the front row here in qualifying. And the main changes, there's some aero changes, but they moved a lot of the components, including the engine, down and back, the driver's positions down, basically a lower center of gravity, which gives the car just a much more stable platform. And they made some changes with the weight distribution of the car, taking it to a full 50-50. And Andy Suchik said it's not as lazy at the front right now. It really turns it well, which was a weak point in the past. And this, the S's here, that's what that is.
On board there momentarily with Pat Long, just really bursts of acceleration, just trying to get everything up to temp, working the brake pedal, trying to get that brake temperature to work up through the upright into these Pirelli P0s. So he's got some bite on these opening corners of this first lap.
Pace car has moved off at the outside of turn 19. Field now under the control of Andy Suchek in the number 9 Bentley as we are getting ready to get the Blancpain GT World Championship underway with the opening round of the Blancpain GT World Challenge America. The field onto the front straight, the start line a little bit further up from the timing and finish line, watching for the green flag, and it flies. We are racing at Circuit of the Americas, and the two Bentleys holding station and moving over to defend and dissuade. Certainly, Daniel Murad looks to the inside. I don't know if he's going to get it done.
Still a great start. He gets ahead of the Ferrari. The Ferrari now has to defend. It looks like Pat Long may have got to the inside of the Ferrari. Molina, not a great start for Ferry.
Absolutely. Slots back into fourth. Long couldn't quite sneak through. But still, Daniel Murad has just been on top of it here this weekend. and doing an absolutely superb job. And one of the great stories or trends for this season thus far is this field is twice the size as it was here at the opener last year. That tells you a lot about what people are thinking about this championship. And then you see how qualifying went, Cal. This is going to be some absolutely ferocious racing.
Brilliant opening few corners here for Andy Soucek.
Yes.
Big lead here, takes the pressure off. He doesn't have to defend from his younger teammate. He can just now hit his marks and try and get into the rhythm of this race. Morad, a brilliant start, up to third position for the Allegra Motorsports team.
And this is one of the great developments throughout the course of this season, both on the web stream and on some of the shows here in the U.S. that will be carried live on television here in the U.S. as live onboards. Delighted to have that as they field now down at the end of that long straight into turn 12 and now into the stadium.
Miguel Molina starting to show his pace, was hunting, looking, probing. But Morad looked equally strong down into that brake zone for turn 12. Pat Long looking to the inside of the Ferrari there in the number 58 Wright Motorsports machine.
Marco Holzer glued right to the back of this number 58 Porsche we are on board with here. Holzer in the second of the Allegra cars. Long looking to the inside of Molina.
Yeah, he's got more grip, he's got more pace to work with, working Molina over right on the tail end of that Ferrari as they enter turn 19. He's all over him. Will he dive to the inside? He takes a look. Molina defends. This is costing these guys times over Morad up ahead of him. He stretches away in that third position.
And Long able to stay right with him. He still has an opportunity here up into turn 1 and see if he decides to do something. Head straight to the apex, and Molina knew that was coming, tried to cover it. Now Long, maybe even a little tap there.
Yeah, they may have traded a little bit of paint there. Long wants to pass right now. He wants that position badly. He doesn't want the Ferrari to get into the rhythm.
And as you said, all of that defense by Molina has allowed the two Bentleys and the Porsche Morad a little bit of room. Up at the front, there's Wei Lu in the black livery TR3 Ferrari right now leading in the Pro-Am category.
So impressive, bursting onto the scene here with Jeff Siegel last year. Done an amazing job, been on a big fitness campaign, has lost 15 kilos since last year, so watch for that young man leading the Pro-Am category right now.
Here is that battle. 4th, 5th, and 6th. Through turn 11 and on to this long run here. We'll see what Pat Long can do. He gets an opportunity here in the toe of that Ferrari.
Great to jump on board here and be inside the cockpit with Pat Long. You can see how violent the action is aboard one of these GT3 machines.
Well, the amount of downforce that they generate, they have to be just immensely stiffly sprung, and you feel everything.
You do, and this is why these boys have to be super fit. Nice and cool here this weekend, so the heat is not a big factor, but physically these drivers are driving these cars absolutely flat out, wringing their neck, trying to find every thousandth of a second here on the racetrack. Tires are at their very best right now, just hitting their sweet spot. Plenty of grip left as we even see Molina there slipping a little bit. The balance isn't quite there on the Ferrari right now.
It's a great triple apex right-hander now into turn 19. In the number 24, Holzer almost seems like he's laying back just a little bit, seeing what's going to unfold up front.
Didn't have a good qualifying run. Admittedly, he was in damp conditions, but he was many seconds off. He seems to have the race pace here this afternoon.
Baptista just laying down fast lap of the race in the early going at 2:06.8 in the second place Bentley.
Yeah, he's not letting his teammate get away. That is
No, he's
for
not.
sure. He's out to make a statement. Things settling in. Through these high-speed S's, a lot of downforce on the front end of these cars that is hurt a little bit when you're running in close proximity like this.
Just giving a quick update in the AM category behind Wei Lu. Anthony Imperato has jumped up into second. That's the number 91 Wright Motorsports Henry Rifles Porsche. That is a great opening couple laps by Imperato, displacing J.C. Perez back into third in the 71 P1 machine. And Martin Barkey in the number 80 Racer's Edge MBRP Performance Exhaust Acura.
Look at Daniel Morad. He's not letting these Bentleys get too far down the road.
No.
He's running lap times equal to the leader right now.
One of the nice things here, we almost get a double onboard effect here because we can look in the rear view mirror of the Ferrari and see what's going on behind him and watch that Porsche come after it. when it accordions here. When they get down to the end of the straight into turn 12, you can barely see Long's Porsche. And then you'll see the compression. Here it comes.
There he is. Concertina effect in the braking zones. This is an intense battle. Pat Long, he doesn't like to get beaten. He doesn't like to see another Porsche up ahead of him on the road. He will not be happy that Daniel Morad had qualified him. As for Wright Motorsports, they will not like that. They want to fight back quickly. How cool is that Ferrari?
Yeah. Oh, sharp looking.
Gold wheels. It takes you back to a different era.
It does. It's evocative, and I love it that they maintain that evocative historical look, but then across the top they do have a Canadian flag, because it is in our motorsports program. There's Wei Lu as he comes out of the last turn in that black TR3. You know, we've seen a few different liveries on the TR3 cars in the last couple of years. This one, I think, is by far the sharpest, especially if you can get up close and look at it with some of the subtle graphics inside it.
That team is just a one-off for Wei Lu and Jeff Siegel at this stage of the game. They're going off to Europe to campaign in the European Le Mans Series, but spoke to Gregory Romanelli earlier in the day, so the TR3 team, they're running Martin Fuentes, of course, and Cesar Bacoella in the sister machine, but they're hoping to have the car that Wei Lu and Jeff Siegel are campaigning here out for further outings this year. He says we have a lot of interest in that car to be campaigned further this season, which is great news.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And here are those two Acura NSXs that are running in lockstep right now with Martin Barkey in the number 80, the Racer's Edge car, and then the Gradient Racing entry of Till Bechtelsheimer. And Till taking a look at Barkey there. Oh, that's a substantial off. And that is, it's one of the Mercedes AMG GT4 machines. It might be David Askew. Well, I don't want to speculate here. Let's watch.
Oh, just gets in a little bit wide there and loses the back end of the car. The car is being dispatched.
Yeah. I believe, well, again, don't want to speculate.
Pretty sure it's the 63. Greg.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, there it is. Okay. That's unfortunate. He was right in that battle with Barkey and Bechtelsheimer and having a good run.
Just turned in a little bit late, and maybe the tires and pressures aren't exactly into the sweet spot, and he just started to lose the rear end, and a critical moment in the S's just got away from him. Take another look at it. Just watch. It's a little bit wide there, and just watch as he turns in. Just starts to lose the rear end, just gets loose on him. Can't quite get it back together. Really did a nice job last year.
Yes, he did.
In the AM category. Had some wins, and avid sailor, and has put together a great group here with Richard Rader basically leading the group and bringing Ryan Dial on as a coach and co-driver for this year. Not the way they wanted to start the campaign.
No, not at all. You know, one of the interesting things was, you know, he said, I've been working so hard to build the team, and he said, I would like to get to the point where, he said, I might own the team, but I want to get to the point where they just tell me what to do as a driver. And he said, we think we're at that point right now. And he said, but our primary deal is he wants to make sure that Colin Brown and George Kurtz in the CrowdStrike car have the right tools to get the job done as well. And he said, so what we're doing here, he said, needs to support that. And as you said, this isn't what they want to have happen. Take a look here while we're under caution at the run order right now. The two Bentleys from K-Pax up at the sharp end of things. Then the very impressive performance in the number 22 Allegra Porsche for Daniel Morad. And Michael De Quesada will be taking over. Then the Ferrari of Molina, the Porsches of Long and Holzer. Long from Wright Motorsports, Holzer from Allegra. And then your leader in the AM category, Wei Lu in the TR3 Ferrari. You see that car sitting there. It's in the 7th overall position with Anthony Imperato in the 91 Henry Rifles. Porsche behind him, J.C. Perez in the P1 Mercedes. Martin Barkey and Bechtelsheimer in the two Acuras from Racer's Edge and Gradient, respectively. And then a neat development here for the next car in the line, number 6 of Stephen Agakani. And the driver that he'll be turning it over to, Richard Antonuzzi, put in a great practice, topping one of the charts here. They've made the switch from a different manufacturer this year into the Mercedes camp, and they have been quick from the off.
They really have. Antonacci has a lot of experience. He even ran in IndyCar briefly and over in Europe. And Agakani, young man, 15 years old, and learning a lot very quickly. Ran in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series, did the 8-hour with that same car, and made a big move here. But to lead one of the practice sessions is a big statement for that team and their potential, certainly.
Yep, U.S. Racetronics doing a nice job. And then, impressively, leading in the AM category, great to see it from Autometrics and the Porsche, Alan Metney, who will be running with Joe Toussaint. And those two having a great run. Joe putting the car on the AM pole here for this race. Then Cesar Baccarella, of course, he along with Martin Fuentes winning and dominating the AM Championship last year in the Squadra Corsa Garage Italia Ferrari. Then Henry Schmidt, as you talked about, Cal, great having BMW back in the GT3 ranks. Greg Schmidt with, or Henry Schmidt with Greg Leofoge will be taking over in that 87 BMW San Francisco entry. Then the Kurtz and Colin Braun CrowdStrike 04 entry from DXDT. And then those are AM cars, Pro-Am cars. Then third in AM is Brent Holden running with James Sofronis in the Global Motorsports Group, number 14 Porsche.
Soucek, prior to this caution, had laid down the fastest lap of the race, kind of responding to his teammates' pressure.
All right, and of course, co-driver for David Askew is Ryan Dial, and Ryan Marine has tracked him down to pit lane. What's up?
Well, let's check in with Ryan Dial, co-driver with David Askew. First of all, have you heard from David, and if so, what has he told you?
Yeah, obviously, the most important thing is David's okay. That's probably the hardest place you could hit here. We'll evaluate the damage, I think, but no, it really sucks. David's done a great job all weekend. You know, he's a true amateur racer here, and we've been plugging away and getting better. The car was pretty great, so we'll see what the damage is. It looks pretty bad in that spot. I mean, we're fifth gear entering that section, so most important thing is he's okay. We talked to him on the radio, and hopefully we can get it fixed for tomorrow.
Challenging start for sure to the season. I know everyone wants to start with a little bit of momentum, and this is a hole to dig out of.
Yeah, but, you know, until this point, so many positives for DXDT, and, you know, we proved every practice session and qualifying we can be fast. So, yeah, not great for points, but, yeah, at the end of the day, we know we're competitive. We got a great bunch of guys here in this team, and support from AMG, so I'm sure if we can fix it, we'll get it back out there and hopefully have a good run tomorrow.
I know you were a little under the weather earlier this week. You feeling better?
I'm feeling better, yeah. I was a little struggling. Everybody seems to be pretty sick in the team, so not been the best of the weeks, but hopefully we get it fixed for it tomorrow.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
No, that's a struggle to deal with here, and they're bringing the entire field down through the pit lane here at this stage, and I think the reason is we have gone to a red flag, Cal.
Yeah, I believe there's some barrier damage with that big hit that David just had, so they wanted to make sure that the track is safety-wise in great shape before we have cars at full speed once again, and the easiest way to do that is just to bring everyone down pit lane, park them for a short while, and get a bit of a reset here.
So working on that repair, and you can see there were the absorption barriers that take a lot of that energy away, but you hit them hard enough, you eventually can get into the barriers, and just confirm from race control that is exactly why we're under red flag. And it's nice because you can just pull them down in order, park them in pit lane. They're under what's called park from A conditions. You can do no work on the car. Drivers can open the doors, get some air, etc. But that is about it at this stage. Tough way to start the season, obviously, with a red flag in the early going, and certainly tough for that DXDT program. But as Ryan said, and I think it's absolutely true, they have speed. There's no question that we've seen that. We saw David Askew really starting to come together as a driver last year with, as you said, a couple of wins. And in the practice sessions here, that car was very, very fast.
Really quick, and Ryan's a great mentor, and a guy who you can bounce ideas off. He'll look at the data, he'll point David in the right direction. I think for someone like David, I mean, thinking ahead here a little bit, I mean, you hope that a big hit like this doesn't shake his confidence to the point that it's going to take him a little while to get back and find his feet and be back on the same sort of form we've seen him display towards the end of last season and certainly in the early practice sessions here.
One of the nice developments as well is the fact that we have had a number of teams that run in Ferrari Challenge competition that have decided to make the step up and run in the Blancpain GT World Challenge Americas Championship. One we saw dip their toe in the water at Portland last year, the Vital Speed, a beautiful yellow Ferrari of Rich and Trevor Beck, both of them driving in Ferrari Challenge. But the 111 program, which is active in the Ferrari Challenge Championship, coming over now and fielding a two-car team. Risi bringing their Ferrari Challenge car over here with Pierre Molachek and Anthony Lazzaro. It's just great to see.
Well, I think the change in format, I mean, I think everyone liked the Sprint X idea last year, but they felt that they really, if you had a caution and you're splitting up the drive time, some of the drivers just saying we're not getting enough seat time. But when we move to this 90-minute format, now there's a lot more meat on the bone. I think that's really being embraced by some of these new teams that we're seeing campaign this season.
Well, the numbers just bear that out, certainly, with what we've seen in terms of entry. There is a look at the number 80. That is Racer's Edge. What a great story for them. I mean, we've been following Racer's Edge for a long time in a variety of different championships, and they've been an absolute strong effort in the GT4 category. But now, with the cars stopped, tell you, with the way Bentleys are running, we got to hear from K-Pax and Darren Law, Ryan.
Yeah, Darren Law, team manager for K-Pax Racing. A picture-perfect start to the season, and a lot of respects for you guys with the new Bentleys coming into the season. Pole position, both races looking really strong up front as well before the red flag. How has the start of the season gone? I know you put a lot of effort into the build-up for this season. We
put a lot of effort into it. We've done a lot of testing. There's been quite a bit of development work with Bentley Motorsports and M Sport and sharing of information, and we're really, really happy with the new cars. They're fast. The drivers love them. The engineers like them. So we're really proud of that whole program. And to lock out the front row for the first race of the year is really nice.
Well, you look around, and not a whole lot of teams are as consistent in their driver lineups as you guys. Two cars, same four drivers for the Sprint X races. How much of an advantage do you think that is with, obviously, the greater emphasis of Sprint X, two drivers in all the races this year?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, that's really important. That was an important factor for us in talking to Bentley about bringing Andy Soucek and Max Soulé back. They get along well with the co-drivers. They understand each other. They understand the engineers. The feedback between everybody's good. So it really makes sense to try and keep it consistent.
Your young driver, Rodrigo Baptista, maybe not as well known as his three co-drivers, but obviously Bentley has taken notice because he's going to be part of their lineup at Spa. That's got to be a nice feather in your cap.
You know what? We're really proud of him. He's done a great job. He started with us in a GT4 car, moved into the GT3 last year, and he's done a phenomenal job. He's very quick. I mean, to get an opportunity to drive with a factory is every driver's dream. I mean, it's a really great opportunity, and he's showing what he can do. It's great.
Well, last thing for you, we've got pit stops coming up in this race. That's something that's very new to this series, but this team has some experience going back to the California 8 Hours last year. How much do you think your endurance racing experience as a team is going to help you, especially early in this season relative to your competitors?
Well, 100% it's helpful for us. You know, obviously the 8 hour was good because we ran an actual Blancpain endurance event, but what's also really important is the experience of our guys. And this group has been together for a long time. We've done a lot of endurance events. We've got Thomas Blom, who calls strategy, who is the best in the business, and we've been running through pit stops like you wouldn't believe, like daily. So we're ready. We're excited for it.
Always a pleasure, Darren. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, truly one of the nice guys in the paddock, Darren Law. No doubt about that. And a mighty fine driver in his own right.
Absolutely. Big time. And he doesn't like to give it up any chance he gets. He loves to jump behind the wheel. So he's still in that transition phase between pro driver and team manager. But it's a great group. So much experience on that pit wall. And they should have the advantage. But there's a lot of top-notch teams out there. They're going to learn quickly.
Yeah, and Ryan was asking him, about the pit stops and the experience. I think one of the developments here that's an important one to note with that new Porsche GT3R. If you remember, in a lot of pit stops, we'd see the refueler have to jump on the hood of the car Well, they've moved those refueling things to the side now, which is going to make that a lot easier for the teams to be able to do the refueling. That's going to help. Obviously, going back to the start of this race, we've been waiting for this for a long off season to get things going here. Let's go back and take another look at the start.
You see there, Molina pulls the nose out of that Ferrari, but it's a Daniel Morad on the outside of the second row. He gets the jump on him, immediately pulls in front of him and takes his path away. And look for a moment like Pat Long was also going to make a move as the Bentleys give each other enough room with Morad tucked to the inside.
And then you can see Holzer getting pushed way wide around the outside, had to bring it back in and gather it up. But everybody got through there fairly cleanly, but it didn't take long as Souček started to build that margin, Cal.
Yeah, he got on the gas early, has a lot of confidence, he knows the car well, so that certainly factors in on this opening lap in terms of knowing where the threshold of grip is. There's a great battle that went on between Pat Long and Molina fighting out for that fourth position on the road at that point in time.
Yeah, there's a good look there as Martin Barkey giving the victory sign. I think he's liking it here. And he is going to be really, really strong. Another team they are always going to be strong is the Wright Motorsports team. And, of course, you want to talk to their leader, Pat Long.
The guys up in the booth, Pat, we're just talking about the battle that you had with Miguel. Early stages of this race, and already it looked pretty intense. What was it like from your perspective?
Yeah, obviously it's early in the season. The Pat Long a couple of years ago might have given him the bumper there a couple of those times when he's just chopping the nose, but it's all good. It's going to be a long year, trying to race respectfully, and it's a new, fresh season, so we want to be there at the end of the year for the championship.
Evidently, there was a warning given out for blocking. Do you think that was justified for the Ferrari team?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the start was a little bit blatant, but other than that, it's good hard racing. We want to put on a show for the fans, and this is what it's all about.
Tell you what, the new Porsche, both the GT4 and GT3 have been looking really strong. How proud are you, having been a part of this Porsche program for so long, about the piece that they've been able to put under you specifically?
Yeah, every single time we put a new car on the road, we're proud of what we've done and worked in the off-season. The organization has grown a lot in Weissach, so getting to know everybody and working on a much bigger system as far as communication. But we started at Daytona and obviously ramping up here for SRO all year, 2 full seasons, so it's going to be interesting jumping between.
And you come from the old school of this series, 60 minutes sprint race. We might have about 60 minutes when this thing gets restarted. Does that suit your style?
Yeah, it does. Going to try to turn over a clean car to Scott and let him finish the race up. Tomorrow I'll get to race a little harder toward the end of the day. But so far the car has good balance and good pace, so that's the positive. We need a little bit of track position here, but still a long way to go.
That it is. Thank you very much, Patrick.
Thanks.
Well, they definitely have both elements covered in that car, don't they? With Pat Long, the 17 overall champion, Scott Hargrove, last year's sprint champ. So if you need speed, you got it.
Yeah, it's pretty stacked. I mean, everyone came to play this year, that's for sure.
I loved his line about the old Pat Long from a couple of years ago. Might have given him the chrome horn.
Well, you can't afford to dig a big hole in this championship. Remember 3 years ago when he got into a start line crash? I think he was on the pole and got turned right here into the fence, and that pretty much turned their championship season upside down.
So we are getting a word here that because of the red flag, and we do have an open time window here a little bit, the good news is we expect this to be restarted within 12, 15 minutes or so, and it will be the full 117 left, so that's great.
It is, yes. So
see as much of these cars as we can.
Stop. So it's a little reset, see how the cars react to going back to green. Cesar Beccarella there. He's an interesting character. What a pairing they have, Martin Fuentes and Cesar. The more I get to know him, he's got big personality, just like his teammate. Competes part-time in the Xfinity NASCAR Championship. Had a run at Daytona, was qualified 12th. He's very pleased with that and ran up as high as 3rd, he said, but got turned around with a couple of laps to go. But he loves his racing, and big Ferrari Challenge guy over the last few seasons, and I think this team is very much a favorite for their class honors this year.
Well, and obviously, if he's running in the Xfinity Series, it means he's got some some oval experience. And his early racing career was on short track, various Florida late model championships, tons of races and wins in that. So he comes from a little bit different background, but adapting nicely.
And his teammate Martin has had so much success over the years in World Challenge competition, and I think for qualifying for race 2, I think Martin was within 3 or 4 tenths of Tony Finlander.
He was.
So that puts it all into perspective in terms of his pace.
Yeah, Martin has just been fast. There's no question about that from the get-go. So, well, the guy that put the car on pole for this race and has led it from the office with Ryan Marine, Andy Soucek from Bentley.
Well, Andy, it looked like a pretty wild race, but most of that was happening behind you. What was your vantage point like for the start of this one?
To be honest, I don't know what was going on behind me. I just saw that Diego was behind me, so I had a good bodyguard there and saw that Mord overtook Molina, but that's all. I saw the Mercedes that crashed in the SS, looked like a big one, but I asked and the driver is okay, which is what matters. And yeah, I mean, only 30 minutes into the race, quite a lot of action. Is the first race of the year, so you'd expect a little bit of more action than usual. Hopefully we can keep our places and pit in, give the car P1 and P2 to our teammates now.
How tough is this? You get all hyped up, you're ready to go, you start the race, but just a couple of laps and now you got to get out and wait around and talk to people like me.
Yeah, well, that's not a problem, but it's not the nicest thing just to get in and out, in and out. I mean, it's a part of our job. We know that red flag can happen. You can go to the loo very quickly and empty yourself a little bit, so it's not that bad. And now we just need to get out and do the same that we were doing. So it's reset our mind to the next restart and try to make the most out of it.
What did you learn about the track conditions and how do they compare with what you qualified in earlier today?
Well, to be honest, it's quite greasy out there. For sure it's dry. This morning when I did my quali session, it was damp in some areas, so it's more comfortable to drive because it's equal, but the grip is very low, so you're sliding around quite a lot, and it's a long race, so we need to look after the tires, and that's what I'm doing. So let's see.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, when they came over for the original, when this was created as a Sprint X, and Andy and Maxime came over, it was quickly evident they were going to be two fabulous additions to this championship.
Yeah, and the chemistry has gotten stronger between them and the team, and particularly the teammates. So, like Ryan alluded to in his interview with Darren Law, the project manager there, the continuity is a big factor, and they need to leverage that early. Certainly the fact they're using the new generation Bentley, Maxime and Andy have that experience. And I think it's just going to rub off on one another. They're going to be a really tough group to beat this year. It'll be track dependent. I mean, it's horses for courses.
Sure.
The Ferrari will be strong at certain tracks. Certainly the Bentley is very good here. Porsche seem to be in the mix as well. So it's anybody's game for the title.
Well, that was one of the things that Alvaro was talking about. He said we're going to be much better on this type of track and on the tight, twistier track. He said, but with the massive downforce that car used to make, the long, super fast corners were great. Not so sure we're going to be as good there. So there's always that little bit of give and take, isn't it? So it's all right. Looks like we're seeing some drivers that are sprinting towards their cars, which is always a good sign. It means we might be getting back to it here in short order.
Yeah, just got to get refocused here. For guys like Andy Soucek, I'm sure he's been through this many times before in terms of a bit of a reset. But for some of the others, it may more of an effect. And but it's good. You've got a few laps under your belt. You'll know what the car feels like on relatively cold tires with low grip. Watch here in this replay here. Is there a little bump there? He comes across. There's a big bump there with Daniel Morad, as Morad had got the power down early in that first of the Porsches coming off the exit of turn one. So Baptista's Bentley took a little bit of a hit in the left side.
That's one of those things where it's all about where the hit is and the angle of the hit. You know, sometimes you get something that looks pretty innocuous, but it's at the exact angle that it'll do damage. Other times you see something that looks pretty harsh, and it'll just be the right angle where everybody gets away with it. I didn't see any fall off in the performance of that.
No, I didn't either. So this would be the side where he got clipped. I don't see anything dramatic.
Yep.
Sometimes it can damage the exhaust that blows out of the side there on the sill, or if it hits the wheel, of course, 2 out is a big problem and can affect the balance of the race car. But looked like got away with it, and good news for Rodrigo. I expect big things from this man this year based on how he finished off last year, as you said. That Watkins Glen performance was like outrageous. Just pole positions and fastest laps and leading at ease. It seemed like he just found the sweet spot that day, and even his teammate Alvaro Parent had nothing for him.
Yeah, it was impressive. There's no question. And I think that's going to be a very special memory for Rodrigo for a long time. That was the breakout here.
Morad looking pretty chill.
Yeah. Moradness.
Yeah,
He is.
He's a cool cat, and great to see him finally. I mean, he's been jumping around a little bit, trying to find his feet, find a home, but I think Carlos de Quesada really loves this young man. They were going to co-drive together in a Pro-Am category, and then Carlos made the decision to promote his young son Michael up alongside, and he put in a great qualifying performance. So
yes, he did.
They're shaking up the establishment. The young guys beating up on the older guys in the Porsches.
Well, the nice thing is too is that Daniel Murat has kind of become, in a sense, a go-to additional driver for no less a team than Montplast as well. So that tells you that he's fairly well rated by teams in the paddock. That says everything.
Well, you get noticed. Yeah, winning Daytona a couple of years ago, and performances with the CRP team, which we don't see on the grid here this year. It's not great to see Nick Short not around this year. So hopefully he'll be back with another program. But certainly allowed Daniel to showcase his talents. When the car is there and he's with a good team, he always seems to run at the front.
When we go back to 2 years ago at VIR, and at the start of the second race, he ended up in front of Jerome Bleekemolen in identical cars and held him off for the entirety of his stint.
I think that was his coming out party. I think
so.
When you held off Bleekemolen, I think everyone expected Bleekemolen just to get him and take off, and he couldn't get by him.
Exactly. All right, let's get down again with Ryan Marine and check in with what's going on at Ferrari.
Enrico Diano is the team manager for our Ferry Motorsport. First thing I wanted to ask you about, we understand there was a warning issued for blocking on Miguel earlier in the race with his battle with Patrick Long. What did you guys think of that decision?
We passed the message of the warning on to the driver. To be honest, we hadn't had time to discuss it. He said okay, he just asked what it was for. We told him, and then he carried on.
All right, fair enough. Well, how about the start to the race for Miguel? It looked like he had a bit of a slow start and then had his hands full from there. What was he telling you about the race car?
Race car, as we're used to, suffers a bit in cold weather, and it just takes longer to warm up. It's obviously even longer in colder weather, more so compared to other cars. So we expected that. At the start, it seemed like there was a minor accordion effect where he started to go, then had to back off, then went again, and that was enough for Patrick to get a bit of an advantage on Miguel. We understood in the driver and the crew chief meeting they wanted the 2 rows of starting cars to be running over the Formula One starting boxes, but that didn't seem to be the case, although that's what Miguel expected, that's what he was trying to do, but wasn't able to achieve it because the cars in front weren't following, so he had to follow them.
Now, pit stops have been a big storyline, of course, coming into this weekend here. This team, our Ferry, you were telling me, hasn't done pit stops since something like 2013, and you're the only crew member left from that team when you were the Lollipop Man. And what are you doing here today in addition to being the team manager?
Lollipop, baby.
You're looking forward to that?
Yeah. I don't want to take anything away. The crew guys have a lot of experience between them. You know, individually they've worked for a lot of teams. It's just as a group, it's taken some gelling time. We had minimal testing opportunity before the season started, but I think we're looking good, and yeah, I expect good things. Just wanted to say hi to my little girl Maya and little girl Lad. I miss them very much.
Last thing, do you have anything for these Bentleys?
I think so.
That's what we like to hear. Thank you very much.
Bye.
I think he could have done a good Telly Savalas impression there, right?
Ooh, with the lollipop. Yeah, I love you, baby. With the lollipop, exactly. Well, and he makes a good point. When you have a car that generally, relative to the others, as the race goes on, gets better, that generally means it may not be
flip
the
side
best,
to that.
the
You can't
best
have
car.
it all.
Exactly.
You can't have the tires burst to life with energy and also last longer than anyone else. So
that's one of those scenarios where obviously you want to have long green runs for that Ferrari. That's when it really comes into its own, and it's great to see. And obviously that team did plenty of pit stops last year, but it was just the driver changes and tires. That the new element for everybody this year is certainly the refueling.
And yes, so that'll be critical. And talking to even the K-Pax team, I spoke to Thomas Blaum this morning about the window to get it done. He said it's tight. He said we can get it done, but you can't fumble at all. So he said I expect to see several teams potentially lose time with that minimum time of 70 seconds.
Restart behind safety car in 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
We're getting an update from race control that the restart will be in 5 minutes. 5 minutes for the restart, so that's great news. And again, at this point, the last update we had, it will be the full remaining time of an hour 17 and a half minutes. So that is the good news. There's a good look at the Anthony Imperato in the second of the Wright Motorsports cars, the 91 Henry Repeating Rifles entry. And again, he dipped his toe in the water at a couple of events last year, and he impressed. I mean, he's certainly been with the Wright team in Wright Motorsports. I figured I better run with that. And has done an absolutely great job in Porsche GT3 Cup racing. And it's nice to see him now to be able to come out and really show his form for a full season here. And now we've been talking about how good the Allegra Porsches have been early in this race and in qualifying. Well, let's find out more from Ryan.
Michael De Quesada, late addition to the Allegra lineup for this year. We thought it was going to be your father behind the wheel, but somehow or another you ended up in the car. Tell us how that happened first and foremost.
It was a bit of an interesting story. You know, my father, he hasn't driven for 2 years because he had to get back surgery, so he's been out of it for a while. And we went to test at COTA, and I was there just to tag along and drive if I was asked. And he wasn't quite feeling up to it, and I did a good job, so he just put me in, I guess, and now we're here, and I'm so happy about it.
Early returns have been very positive, and I know it's always exciting to be racing with your buddy Daniel. He was really mixing it up there at the beginning, showing the speed of this Porsche. How much confidence does that give you, seeing how fast that car is out on track?
Yeah, I mean, I trust Daniel more than anything with the car, and yeah, I mean, I'm really confident. We had a really good run this morning in qualifying. We got P3 and P4. Unfortunately, the P3 was taken away because I crossed the checkered flag twice, but yeah, I mean, it's no question that the Porsche GT3R has some speed, but we just got to keep it consistent throughout the race and bring it to the finish.
How big of a role did Daniel play in convincing you to drive this year?
You know, Daniel, since I was 15, has been one of my best friends. He's been my mentor. He's taught me so much on and off the track. When he first came back to racing, we were racing together in the GT3 Cup, and you know, there's nothing more comfortable than racing with your best friend. So, yeah, I mean, he's just taught me so much. And, you know, I couldn't say no to this opportunity with him.
Oh, we're happy to have you back racing stateside. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And for those of you, when we go back to shots at pit lane, you may see crews now over and actually in contact with the cars and such. The announcement came from race control during that interview that Parc Fermé is now open. Which means that crews can help drivers in and actually work on the cars just a little bit.
Restart will be at 16:30.
So looking forward to this one
Restart
getting back underway here in about 3 minutes. We're anticipating. You can see the lights are now on the safety vehicle, the pace car in pit lane, which is always a good sign. Officials are taking up their position, and we look forward to getting this one going again. And the interesting thing is this has just been a long sit in very cold weather, Cal, certainly for here in Texas. And it's going to be this pace lap is going to be really, really crucial to get some heat in those tires.
Yeah, for sure. So they'll get a bit of a read. They're able to check the tire pressures there, and if there was one end of the car, one axle of the car that came up a little bit stronger than the other, they may be able to bleed those tires down and make a slight adjustment if one didn't come to life. So those adjustments were possible after those Parc Fermé conditions were lifted. But we don't see too much action there prior to the doors being closed and getting ready for the off. So I think everyone's pretty much set. Just deal with it. I mean, it's never going to be perfect, and that's where the drivers earn the money now, is just go out there and race them.
Yep, you got to race what they gave you. And at this level, they generally gave you pretty good.
They did.
So that's not a huge issue. I just want to say, one of the things when you think about rule books and the like, when they really get in and think about things, a lot of this comes from feedback. There's a rule in place that says if you're a chasing driver and you're trying to get the attention of the guy in front of you, you'd think if you're, certainly if you're passing somebody from a technically slower class, but even if they use it, flashing those other lights, there's a regulation. You can only do 3 flashes. And then you've got to get off it. And then later you can do 3 more. So you used to see those lights just going absolutely crazy. I mean, they really think about that stuff at this level. And we just got word. We expect pace car to roll within 30 seconds.
I don't care if I'm from sitting up here, sitting in a race car, and I stood at that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Safety car procedure. Safety car dispatch.
Well, there you hear it, folks. It is time to get this one back and underway. And as soon as that pace car rolled, clock started counting as well. So we're officially racing again at Circuit of the Americas.
Yep.
And I think you have to give some serious shout outs to the track crew here for doing a barrier repair fairly quickly here.
Yeah, I'm sure that everything is A+ once again in terms of the safety conditions of the racetrack.
So you may have just heard from race control, there's going to be actually 2 formation laps here, which I think is a good idea to give them plenty of opportunity to get those tires and pressures up just a little bit. And one of the nice things is they have a set speed for the safety car, but they also, give an allowance in certain scenarios where they say the safety car can pick that speed up to try and give those cars a little bit more speed to try and get those pressures and temperatures up and under control. Great section of the track here, clearing the very tricky section of S's, and this is where you start. I love the way you refer to it, the dyno run part of this track here, because you come out of this turn, you go through that kink, and it's just flat out hard braking into 11, and then another hard out blast.
Yeah, one fact I think, looking at the time remaining in this race with the clock stopping, is that the daylight is going to be rapidly diminishing here towards the checkered flag time. So I don't think it'll be a major factor, but certainly I don't think anyone's wearing any dark tinted visors anyway. We haven't seen much sunshine here this week.
On board. It's nice to have these opportunities here to check out these onboard cameras here. And I love the fact with these rearward-facing camera views here, you can double up on the onboard scenario here. This is something you've talked about before, Cal, is a lot of people think that scrubbing is to get heat in the tires. And you can see here, there's not a lot of scrubbing, but there's a lot of accelerating and then braking hard on the brakes.
Yeah, I mean, you could even run, both pedals at the same time, run against the brakes with the gas pedal just to try and generate massive temperatures. Not something you want to do excessively, but you can do it to a certain point, and all of the drivers will have found the sweet spot in terms of how much you do that. And what we're talking about is just getting the brakes super hot, and then that heat is then transferred through the upright and into the wheel, and then consequently into the tire.
So it heats the tire from the inside out, which is far more effective.
Yeah, it just heats the whole corner of the car. So
tire warming in this championship is not allowed in terms of tire blankets and warmers, etc. So you use what means you have at your disposal to be able to get this set up and going once again. That black Ferrari, just want to remind everybody, the black Ferrari that'll come into view here in just a moment is leading in the AM category. It's the TR3 Racing Ferrari of Wei Lu and Jeff Siegel. And then the 991 Porsche, a little bit farther back from Autometrics in the hands of Alan Metney, is leading in the AM category. We keep track of those 3 categories within the class. Going to be interesting. I mean, as you just mentioned, that somewhat low light, it's still hazy and foggy in spots. The race we're going to be coming up here, we've still got well over an hour, so it is going to get a little bit dark. It won't be dark, but it'll be a little bit darker. So there's all kinds of things that these teams are going to be dealing with here, and the cold.
I think the key for Andy Soucek, I don't think Alain Adam, the chief steward, is going to allow for any advantage to be taken on these restarts. And I think when you've got the track position and you've got a really good car under you, I think for Andy Soucek, he needs to be talked to on the radio, I would say. Make sure that your crew chief is reminding you, don't take any risk here in terms of trying to get a jump, because they're probably going to be all over that. So just make sure you do it by the book. Do exactly what was told to you in the driver's meeting. There's no need to try and get the jump on your teammate and risk getting a penalty.
Well, they were very specific about that in the driver's meeting, weren't they? That when the pace car pulls off, the safety vehicle pulls off, it will be at the speed. As you exit that last turn, you can gradually increase your speed. It was said like that many times to make the point. You don't just gas it and go. And you can gradually increase the pace. Then when the green flies, you can go. And a new development this year is, even though the green flag flies up at start finish, previous years when on a restart, when the green flag flew, you could race and pass and all that. Not anymore. Green flag flies, you cannot improve your position until you cross that timing beacon.
That's right.
It's basically a standardization of rules, trying to have a global rules package for this now global championship, the Blancpain GT World Challenge.
In his early days, you don't know what the chief steward's going to do, how he's going to police it, so why be the guinea pig?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Let someone else roll the dice a little bit in terms of trying to gain an advantage and getting dinged for it.
All right, lights out on the safety vehicle, so we are getting ready to go here. These two beautiful Bentleys, the number 9 with the yellow trim, the number 3 with the blue. And the two Allegra Porsches.
You have to see what Morad thinks about here. Is he going to try and get the jump on Baptiste up into turn 1? Bright yellow spoiler Porsche sitting in the 3rd position. Can he do anything?
Green flag, green flag.
All right, you heard the call. We are racing. Now that everybody's crossed that finish line, that control line, we are at it. And look at the run that Molina got. Looked like Murad went to protect, and Molina just had a tremendous drive. But he's on the outside here, and Murad makes sure there's no gap.
Oh, low bump there.
Yeah.
Pat Long gets into the tail of the Ferrari he talked about a couple of years ago. Pat Long may have done that. Well, 20 minutes later, he is doing it.
I don't think Pat maybe expected Miguel to slow quite that quickly, but nonetheless, yeah. So, well, he knows he's there.
I don't think there was any real intent there. It was just a little bit different rolling speed there through Apex. Suchek on the initial start. Good balance underneath the Bentley and taken off a little bit.
Down through the kink at turn 10.
Oh, Morad down to the inside. I wondered why Baptiste, I thought maybe he had a moment and a turn in, but no, he was reacting to Morad plowing down the inside. Now Baptiste comes back at him all the way on the left-hand side in the dirt and debris there. He clears him. Now Morad is back in his slipstream. I had a feeling that Morad was going to get feisty. I thought it would be on the initial start up into turn 1, but he had to protect from Molina. This is great for Suchek.
Yeah.
These guys fighting. Oh, big flick to the inside. What a move!
That was stellar. Now, Baptiste going to try and return the favor, and does. This is some great counterpunch racing, isn't it?
This is fantastic stuff. And once again, Long is all over the back end of that very Ferrari, trying to find a way through. Sensational stuff there by Daniel Morad. Couldn't quite make it stick, but putting it all on the line.
Long thinking about it there. Realized it's a tough place to make that pass.
Horses are looking strong.
Yeah, they are.
On board here with Pat Long, looking at that delta to the Ferrari. Can he pick up the draft, climbing the hill towards turn 1? Got Halter in another Porsche right behind him. Can't just be so focused. Difficult position for Pat Long. Trying to open the door on the Ferrari, but he can't open the door for the guy behind him to make a move.
Well, if you just straight line it to the apex, you may get in front, but then you've got to get it woed and turned. And as you see, Murad made that kind of move, and it was aggressive, but then the Bentley was able to slip right back through again. So sometimes you do it, trying to get them offline. this level, these drivers don't rat it.
Baptista is found with a bit of clean air and open space and chance to breathe right now. You see Morad just weaving around a little bit. That'll be to clean up the tires when he was offline a little bit, potentially. Get the rubber off those Pirelli P0s. On board with Pat Long once again. But that battle between Morad and Baptista has allowed Soucek to open up a 2+ second lead.
Just enjoying the engine note here. Good stuff. Then the second of the Allegra cars, that 24, it's the Porsche with the orange splitter.
Wei Lu at the tail end of this lead battle between all the Pro machines. Leading Pro-Am, but hanging on to the tail of Marco Holzer. Great performance by the TR3 team.
Absolutely. They were sort of the Davids against Goliath oftentimes last year. I believe Jeff Siegel ended up with an overall pole right here with that as a Pro-Am car. And then when Wei Lu got in, he did a superb job of staying right in that same queue. So it's nice to see Wei Lu proving that was no fluke. We can do this.
There he is. Really impressive. And, oh, it's too bad. Quick spin there for the 991 of Metny. He was leading in AM, so yes, Baccarella's got around him. I'm not sure if that was from the pressure from Baccarella that created this situation or not.
Nice job keeping the car
running. Close proximity within a second of one another. Not sure when that occurred.
Molina continues to hang on in front of Long.
And as his crew chief alluded to, that Ferrari should get better, longer run. Right now it's all about Henry Soucek out front. Tell you what, Baptista is responding. New fast lap by Baptista, half a second quicker than Soucek. 2:06 flat. That's the quickest lap we've seen all weekend long by Baptista. He is fired up and got some pace underneath that number 3 Bentley.
Yes, he does. As we go back and watch Wei Lu here leading in the Pro-Am category. Second right there is the 91. That's the Wright Motorsports Henry Rifles entry of Anthony Imperato. Then the number 5, a nice opportunity here. Till Bechtelsheimer in the Gradient Acura NSX slipping around Martin Barkey in the similar car, the number 80 Racers Jim BRP Performance Exhaust Machine. That's 3rd and 4th. 5th in the class, the number 6 of young Mr. Agakani for U.S. Racetronics, doing a nice job as well. There's the number 5, the Gradient entry, Bechtelsheimer. There's Martin Barkey. There's Cesar Baccarella, who's leading in the AM category. There is the number 6.
Carney looked like he had a little moment there into the brake zone for 12, maybe trying to make a move on Baccarella. Just saw it in the background briefly on a previous shot. He's keeping the pressure right there. Mercedes color scheme is beautiful.
Yes, it is, isn't it? There's Baccarella. That's the Squadra Corsa Garage Italia Hublot Racing Ferrari. And I just have loved that graphics package on that car since day one, because you look at it from one angle, it's the Mexican flag. You look at it from the other, it's the Italian. And that's just phenomenal. And right now, Baccarella doing a nice job leading in that category. Second now in the category with the problems for the 991 of Metny. Back a couple more spots, however, but second in that category is Brent Holden in the number 14 Global Motorsports Group Porsche. So nice to have Brent back in the championship.
It certainly is. I think there'll be a factor. James Wood, a couple of years he's had numerous championships.
He's one of a very few drivers who have James is over 200 starts in the World Challenge competition over the years.
26 years in?
This is his 26th year, yeah.
Look at Baptista. He is closing in.
He
has got that gap down now to 1.6 seconds.
Those two Bentleys have so far made now a little bit of a break, haven't they? In fact, Molina looks to be finding some speed and coming up to Morad again.
Yeah, I Wonder about Morad, because his car was slipping a little bit coming off of turn 11 there under acceleration. So I wonder if they started really aggressive on the tire pressures. What you could do, Greg, is start high tire pressures. That'll mean you'll get speed early in the run, but then they can overpressure. We see him really wide there, struggling for grip there down into the brake zone. So it seems to me like Morad looked really impressive in the early going, but now he's starting to back up a little bit.
You think the team was maybe thinking, look, we need you to get in leapfrog
in the track position
right
early
now.
and then hold on.
Yeah.
Which is good, because then when you do your pit stop, you're going to get fresh rubber for your teammates. So get the track position early, hang on, and then get a fresh set of Pirelli P0s on for your teammate and see what you can do to the finish.
Well, he got the track position, he got in front of him, but he just couldn't hang on.
Yeah.
That was the issue.
Yeah.
On board with Molina. Those two Bentleys now are up the road. They're almost 4.5 seconds clear right now of the rest of the field.
Yeah, they've certainly got tremendous pace. And this will allow the strategists to relax a little bit. It won't be so critical. They may be a little bit more conservative in terms of how tight they want to cut. Even if they get the tire change done, if they're sitting still, how tight they want to cut it to that 70-second minimum delta on pit lane. And those are all of the things that your drivers can help you with by building that nice comfort margin in the early going.
It's kind of an interesting, I don't know if dichotomy is quite the right word here, but you know, when it's this cold, it takes the tires a long time to come up. But when it's this cold, the air is so much more dense. The aero is hugely effective. And of course, the engines make a little more power, but it really does affect the aero.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of grip. Track has probably not got great grip though, so it probably balances out a little bit.
In the big picture. Just winding that Porsche engine out, chasing the Ferrari.
So much experience.
Yeah.
This is like Pat Long's 16th year with Porsche.
And has always been since he became. He's the only North American Porsche factory driver. And the fact that he has remained that for so long gives you an idea of just how much they respect him. And part of it, certainly a huge part of it, is his outright speed, but his developmental skills, and also the fact that I think he thoroughly enjoys coaching young drivers coming up. He does an awful lot of work on things. I think he even has a historic program that he does with Porsches and such. He bleeds the breed, that's for sure.
He does. Yeah, you recognize that. And he was chased. I mean, I know for a fact when Ford got their GT Le Mans program together, they went after him. But, you got to think about the big picture. When you've established yourself with the brand for so long, it's been crazy to walk away from that. And he'll be talking Porsches till he stops racing them, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think... Yeah, that's a good point. There are a lot of manufacturers that get in racing and, will have a good 5-year, 8-year program that's really solid, but then they might leave. Since Porsche, the second car was built, I think they've been in racing. They're never going anywhere. So I love the story when he was telling me about it. I asked him about it. He said, I was racing in Europe, open wheel stuff, didn't want to do F1. And got the offer, and he said, I asked a number of people, well, what do you think? And he said, to a person, they said, do you want a career in racing? You want to make sure you have a career in racing, or do you want to roll the dice? He said, I want to make sure I have a career in racing. It's that simple. And it's been a marvelous one, hasn't it?
It's hard to believe that he spent a quarter of that time being a Porsche driver with this team.
Yeah.
4 years now with Wright Motorsports,
and
a lot of success. Won the title in World Challenge a couple of years ago. Switched championships last year, but great to see John Wright and his team back in this paddock again.
I got to admit, some of my favorite memories of Patrick will always be those 2 years he drove that Porsche Spider.
This gap seems to be pretty constant, around 1.6 seconds between the two Bentleys, running lap times within a tenth or so of each other, lap dependent. They've certainly seemed like they've got a good second in pace over the rest of the field right now. So this is just increasing that cushion that they'll have when they get ever closer to that opening for the pit stop, which is happening in about 8 minutes or so.
Well, and I just harkened back to at the end of the qualifying session when Ryan interviewed Andy Suchek, and he made the comment, he goes, yeah, a little bit of traffic on my best lap. I think I left a little something on the table. It's like, that's got to be a little bit of concern for the rest of the field here.
I think K-Pac's biggest concern was looking at the skies this morning. I saw them when it was if you looked at your weather app on your phone, it said it wasn't raining, but it certainly felt wet enough like it was doing something. And they said this is not good news for the Bentley, so they were concerned that all of their hard work and preparation to have cars that are very quick here in these sort of conditions were going to be thrown out the window. And they struggled, in fact, in the second qualifying session here today. So they're looking good today, but they've got a lot more work to do tomorrow. Even though they're running fastest laps, that doesn't count for anything regarding grid position. Those positions are already set for tomorrow's race, and they're a lot further down the order for tomorrow in 6th and 12th position versus the front row today.
Exactly, and that's an issue, and that's one of the things that I was asking them about when they were telling me about this new Bentley. And one of the things they said it doesn't, because of the balance of the car. They said they traded in the design some of the downforce for a little less drag. And my first thought was, so if it's wet? And they went, yeah, we want to think about that right now. So that's a good point. There's a thumbs up from the top of the Arferi box in the pits.
Molina's he's going to be giving Daniel Warren a hard time here.
To car 2-2. Disrespecting track limits 3 times.
Morad is getting warned for track limit abuse, so he's not got too many more freebies before he's going to get dinged. So he's got to keep it together. I think he's pushing hard and trying to maintain that track position, but Molina's getting ever closer, and he's not able to maintain pace. I saw that car start to slip about 3 laps ago, Greg, and it's now showing up on the lap times as well.
Well, in the drivers' meetings, they made it very clear that they'll give you 3 or so warnings. After that, it'll be a drive-through, and that is, you don't want to have that happen, especially when you're so close to the stops. You get that new set of tires on the car, etc., and you're still up in the front.
One thing I need to clarify is that so many warnings per car or per driver. Is it a roll-on effect?
Yes.
It's like someone else gets in, I've got no freebies left. You use them all up. No mulligans.
That's a very good point. Well, the way that I kind of understood it was, for this, if the driver who did the track limit violations gets to the point of a drive-through, but then there's a change of driver before that can happen, the new driver will have to serve the penalty. But that doesn't mean he now has absolutely no mulligans either. So, yeah, Murad just needs to smooth it out here and get to the 40-minute mark. Here, yeah.
Basically just under 5 minutes away from first pit stop potential. And with the pros, I mean, all of these guys have got stout driver lineups. There's really no advantage, I wouldn't say, in terms of, you might get to a certain track where someone's more comfortable. You want to maximize their seat time. So if that's the second driver, you want to get him in as soon as possible. But certainly in the Pro-Am categories, you had to have your lower grade to drive. Oh, that's really tight there. Morad is struggling. Molina almost into the quarter panel of him there. This is going to allow Pat Long to close in on this gap, and that will make Molina's task even tougher. He's got to defend from Pat Long at the same time. So he's probably anxious to get by Morad and minimize that gap to the Bentleys right now before the pit stop.
And in a scenario here where you've got a car that clearly isn't very happy at this point, even though, as you were saying, the drivers are fairly similar, you might bring that car in as soon as possible to get a set of tires that are pressured differently on it. And that's all part of the strategy that we love to watch the teams play out. And we forget, the drivers obviously get a lot of attention, but those crews, that's what I love about making these pit stops, times tough to achieve, is that it really puts it in the crew's hands, and it's a team sport.
The other problem you're going to have, Greg, I think that the problem with stopping early is that you're going to go to cold tyres, and those outlaps are going to be really slow compared to even someone on well-worn rubber running hot laps. Do you know what I mean? So I think the overcut is possible here.
Yes, absolutely. So you wonder here, at least up at the front,
Warning flag to car 24. Disrespecting track limits for the third time.
Is
Pat's just kind of setting a good pace, then they'll probably
just listening to that report, so that was the 24, not the 22.
Yeah, it's a different warning for the 24 of Holzer, who's the tail-end car in that little pack as they tails away out of turn 11.
So what I was going to ask was, do you think it's going to be a dominoes thing? Is that, you know, everybody will follow Soucek's lead essentially, and when he comes, they'll all come then because it'll equalize things on tires up at the front end?
Well, you know, I think you wouldn't want to stay out more than 2 laps, do you know what I mean? Because otherwise that new set of rubbers, now we see Molina making the move. Can he make it stick? No, Morad doesn't want to get it to him. Argy-bargy there, they touch. Molina's still going to force it. Can he make it stick? Now he's down to the inside. He's cleared him, I believe. No, Morad's still there.
Through. What an exchange.
Pat Long just sitting there worried about where these guys are going to end up. He doesn't want to get into it if they suddenly turn each other around. But he also wants to be in position to take advantage. Getting to your point in terms of whether you follow someone in, Greg, I'd stay out for 2 laps and get the track position. If there's the ability to leapfrog that driver, stay out on hot tires, get the lap times in, try and get the track position, then have the new driver try and hang on cold tires, but have the position.
And that way you can say, hey, I brought it in up front. Yeah, that's that would make sense. And certainly, if you're back in the order a little bit to try and do anything to get some track position, I'll tell you, it's just right now these Bentleys are just throttling this field.
Well, they're still running laps in the 7s, and these guys mixing it up and running laps in the 9s. So this is just allowing the Bentleys to increase their margin now to a 12-plus second lead. 2 seconds a lap faster compared to this little battle for the second, third, and fourth. Sorry, the third, fourth, and fifth positions right now.
Our SRO's officials are all lined up. Like I said, watching every.
It's going to be close. Bentleys possibly have the ability to come in. The clock has to be under that 50-minute mark as it ticks down to. I think the Bentleys will be. Not at pit lane when that clock ticks down to that big run here by Molina, pulling the draft. Morad defending. Molina's going to get him. Now he just needs to slow him down, park him at the apex, which he does. Does that allow Pat Long?
Window is open for 10 minutes.
Take advantage.
Window is open for 10 minutes.
Anyone can pit right now if they choose to, including the leaders who are admittedly 12 seconds down the road, but
the minimum pit stop time is 70 seconds.
You hear the report from Lane, 70 seconds. And it's Holzer ducking in. So, and again, that might just be, well,
you're rolling the dice. You got to try something. You don't have the track position. I think for the Bentleys, they're going to keep them out there a little bit longer. Because again, I think,
Soucek
is in.
Yep.
Well, the one disadvantage by staying out if you have the leader is if someone else ducks in and then there's a yellow, that can stymie your progress because you're supposed to bring it down at 80 kilometers an hour.
And they've got some specific
last warning for track limits before
they got some specific regulations on how this unfolds right now in terms of equipment over the wall. And the other big thing this year is they have said there is no rolling or certainly throwing of tires but you can't take the tire and just kind of feed it over to somebody. It's got to be under control the entire time.
72.4 second stop for the lead car, the number 9 car that had the lead at least. To wait for everything to cycle through to see where they end up. Now the key is going to be, what are these outlaps like for Pirelli on those cold tires compared to his teammate Baptista? I would suspect Baptista runs good pace here, that there's the ability for Soule to leapfrog around Alvaro Pirelli. So I think Baptista's in-laps should be quicker than Pirelli's out-laps.
That would make sense. Holzer turns it over to Hensler, 73 seconds, so they lost a second to the Bentley.
See if they go 1 or 2 laps. If I was calling strategy, I'd go 2, but if you're playing a little bit safer, you'd come in now. Here he comes. So this in-lap for Baptista should be a lot faster than Alvaro Pirelli's out-lap on fresh, cold tires, so it should allow Soule to maybe leapfrog to the front, and then he's just got to hang on and try and get those Pirelli P0s up to temp. Again, just to repeat, Soucek Pirelli's pit stop time, 72.4 seconds, so as long as the sister car can be matched that or maybe a little bit better, it should allow Soule to get the track position on the other Bentley.
Whaley turning over to Jeff Siegel. That's a great stop, 71.8 seconds, and here we go. Baptista's in. One gun. Now that's okay. You can lay the tire down on the side, but you have to carry the tire. No rolling it, no throwing it, and that lone gun has to get that job done. Nice job in the exchange. Baptista out.
He's pumped. He did a great job. He kept close enough to Soucek, and look at this. Now we see Pirelli in traffic as well. This is far from ideal for Alvaro Pirelli, and he recognized, he'll know how important these laps are in terms of the track position. Here he comes. Can Soule nip out of the pit lane and beat him? Yes, he does. So now he's got to just hang on. There you see the difference. But through the S's, Pirelli will be way, way quicker. You watch this gap here at the start of the S's and what it'll be at the end.
Just evaporate.
Yeah, Soule will just be tiptoeing through the S's right now. Pirelli has got some tire temperature, eat into that gap, but this is what we're talking about by the overcut here, just staying out. And those in-laps give you the advantage and give you the track position, which I like the call for the 3 team.
Yep. A little bit of risk, a lot of reward if you can make it work. Now you can see, Brent just carrying a lot more speed here. About how long would you think it would be before things equalize?
I'd say probably a lap, a lap and a half maybe, and Pirelli knows this is go time for Alvaro Pirelli. You could see him pushing his way through traffic. He had to get going. He couldn't afford to lose any additional time to what he was suffering by not having the grip into the race car immediately. But now he's got the advantage. Now it's Soule's turn to really dig deep, load the tire, take a little bit of risk. To get the tire temp, you've got to load it before it likes it.
And you've got a very quick, vital speed Ferrari right in the mix. And Brent's got to find a way around quickly. And look at this cue heading into the pits. Yep, that is the grouping here.
Who's going to cut it the closest? Who's going to execute the best?
Yeah, this is what it comes
down to.
Come
in like this close, you can literally leapfrog. Forget the overcut or undercut. It's all about execution and how tight you cut it to that 70-second delta.
That's the Ferrari of Molina. Murad bringing the Porsche in, the number 22.
The Bentley's had such a gap, though, Greg, whatever these guys do and however close they cut it, and even though they had a number of hot laps on, even admittedly worn tires, I don't think they're going to be in a position to take any track position away from the Bentleys. There they are. They're on pit lane. Here come the Bentleys. You can see Pirelli is ever closer. Remember the gap when they came out of the pit lane just a couple of minutes ago? It's gone away, but the problem now for Pirelli is Soule's now got the grip underneath him. Interesting dynamic, because from a team perspective, they couldn't get too risky, because if other teams pitted and they stayed out and there was a yellow, they could have in fact lost the lead of this race, but they blinked first, as in terms of the 9 car, and has allowed the sister car to take advantage of that situation by doing that overcut.
Be interesting to see here pace to continue to fend off Brent or not, now that things have equalized just a little bit. Taking a look here.
So unfortunately our timing has an update because right now it's got totally
And some of the stops, see what unfolds in terms of those times. Boy, they are close.
Okay, Brent, how hard is he going to push on his teammate right now? He's in the draft. He's got a good run. It could be now or never time. Soulei's car is only going to get better.
Yeah.
Alvaro can't afford to take any risks on his teammate. Difficult scenario. This is where the experience counts. That's why they got these 4 guys driving these Bentleys this year. They know and they hope that they should make the right decision. Alvaro looks to the inside. He's pushing, he goes to the inside, has to give it up. Soulei gives him room.
Alvaro in turn gives him room when Soulei came back across, and right there Soulei said enough. Just went right back in front.
I'd have to give hats off to Soulei there. He gave enough room there right at the critical phase of turn 15. Otherwise there could have been contact, and one of them at least could have been going around, protecting himself to some point, but certainly stopping a nasty team dynamic right there. Alvaro recognizes that Soulei's laps. 2 laps now, he's going to be finding the sweet spot. He's just going to get better. Brent could have been thinking it was now or never time in terms of the win.
That's what these guys are paid to do. So, and again, yeah, I would agree with you that Soulei gave just enough room, and Brent, to his credit, when Soulei came.
Ooh! Brent got up on that curb, had to give it up, was going to be a big moment, had to straighten his hands and just shortcut the circuit. That shows how much he's pushing.
Yes, it does.
He's dealing with the aero wash from that Bentley right in front of him as well. Just had a big moment there.
He's watching
another look
again.
at it.
Well, he got that big orange.
Yeah, he got that curb that Pat Long described on the Porsche track preview. You couldn't afford to touch. Just kicked him straight out wide.
Wolf Hensler having it off. Able to gather it back up again, but cost him track time. And at this level, you know, losing 4 car lengths of track position can be devastating.
It can, and certainly Wright Motorsports had a great pit stop. They got Hargrove with that. We didn't see that little bundle of cars that came in together, but not sure if it happened on pit lane or after the pit stop exchange. But it's the 2 Allegro cars.
Wow! Oh, that's what. Oh,
it was close, so close to taking each other out there. The 2 Allegro Motorsport cars. Getting back to the 58 machine now, runs in 3rd position with Scott Hargrove behind the wheel, has a 2.5 gap over Tony Vilander.
Pit window is now closed. Pit window is now closed.
And the mandatory 10-minute pit window has closed.
Unfortunately, we're not getting the data to indicate who had the slower pit stop on those last pit stops. But either way, big move for Wright Motorsports to get up into that 3rd position.
Yeah, absolutely. And the outlap, you look at least Hargrove turned at 3:13.8, and Vilander at 3:18. So, yeah, look at that.
Just making a move on back. I think that was for position, that move we saw up into turn 1 with the 82 Ferrari.
20 seconds. Yeah, that's significant, obviously. But again, I looked at the outlaps, and Hargrove was 5 seconds faster than Vilander. And
could have been traffic.
Could have easily been traffic, exactly. So Hargrove now.
Now a Porsche Select driver. That's how he got this opportunity. But I think also showcases how much these manufacturers wanted to be involved in this Blancpain GT World Challenge America category. The fact they are willing to support not just Allegra but Wright.
Yep.
They want this championship in the biggest way.
Yeah, it says an awful lot about it here. Now the problem for Hargrove is he's just to get to Brent, he's got to find 20 seconds.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to touch the Bentleys today unless something really goes awry. But I think it'll be almost a mini win, best of the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you take a look at the Pro-Am after that exchange of stops. Look at that, the number 31 TR3 entry that Wei Lu started in the hands of Jeff Siegel, 5th overall right now. And Jeff is fast, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do relative to Vilander. Then second in the Pro-Am category is the 91 Wright Motorsports Henry Rifles car, now in the hands of the extremely quick Norwegian driver Dennis Olsen, up into the 7th overall spot. Third in the Pro-Am category is the number 5 Gradient Acura NSX, in the hands now of Ryan Eversley. 4th in number 80 at Cal Marcelli. And, into the pits after that rough ride, there's damage on that number 24. Another look at it here, Cal.
Drive-through penalty, car 2-2. Track limits violation more than 4 times.
Wow, well there we say it's not just per driver then, it's obviously per car.
Yeah.
So the 22 car is now going to get a drive-through penalty. So not the best couple of minutes here for Allegra Motorsports, very much in the thick of the battle. Wolfie had that big moment there, climbing over the curbs, nearly took out his teammate, and then Michael De Quesada as they hit pit lane for further track limit violations.
And that's just an indication of how quickly things can turn, because for the first hour of this race, or 50 minutes of this race, those Allegra cars were phenomenal. And then something like that happens, a couple of track limit violations, a ride over the curbs, and suddenly...
Interesting entry point for that turn 11 there. You see Soulé breaking in the middle of the road. I'm not sure he's escaping maybe a bump or something he doesn't like by running the normal, traditional wide turn-in point. But different to his teammate right behind him. He certainly wasn't protecting anything because Brent's not close enough to demand that.
And they get down to turn 12, and they're both pretty much identical in the line that they take.
Hubler Ferrari car there. Fuentes now behind the wheel. They have the lead in the AM division.
And second in the AM class, about 5 cars back, Anthony Lazzaro now is taking over from Pierre Molachek in the Risi Ferrari. He's got that up into second. You saw that pass. He called it when he snuck around Trevor Beck in the number 8, the yellow Vital Speed car, which sits third in the AM class. 4th in the AM class is the 14 Global Motorsports Group Thermal Club Porsche of James Safronis now. And then 5th is Chris Cagnazzi in the number 19 111 Ferrari. Nice to have Matt Plum in our championship as well, running the 99 111 entry. And he shares with Keola. That's a Pro-Am entry.
And I think a lot of those combinations are going to just get stronger as the season progresses and they get more events under their belt.
Right. Absolutely.
Big jump up from Ferrari Challenge to GT3 competition. The leaders once again. The guys really approaching their lap times right now is I think this is going to be a precursor for tomorrow, as Carl Marcelli, who has the pole for tomorrow. He's laid down some really quick laps in the 206 range as well.
I mean, they are very close.
Obviously deeper in the pack.
Yeah. The 22 Allegra Porsche's got a 206. And then Marcelli, as you mentioned. And then the 2 Bentleys. So they're running in lockstep right here. Here's Hargrove in the 58.
He's inching away from Tony Vilander. We talked about the pit stop exchange and the 58 car getting that track position, but last lap he was 4/10 quicker than Vilander, so that gap is extending now out to 2.5 seconds over the Ferrari.
And Siegel in the TR3 Ferrari behind Vilander. Marginally quicker, about 1/10 quicker than Vilander at this stage. But he's got a significant gap for him to come back. He has to find some 4 seconds. All right, so let's get back down to Ryan Marine. We've been talking about the strength of these Bentleys, Ryan.
Catching up with Darren Law once again. Let's talk about those pit stops. We talked about them earlier. You felt like that could be an area of advantage for the team. Did that play out in that first round of pit stops?
Well, obviously, I mean, the team did a phenomenal job on the pit stops, and they executed everything as they should. It's really good. You know, it's unfortunate that the positions have switched on track, but I believe Alvaro got traffic on his outlap, which is what caught him out. So, but still, 1-2, you know, we're really proud of it. So everything's good so far.
And right now, the car continuing to show the strong pace. It seems like it doesn't matter what the conditions are this weekend. It's been really stout.
Yeah, the car's really solid, and we worked really hard to have a consistent car throughout the whole run. So, you know, that's one of the important things. A lot of these cars have tire degradation and fall off, and the key here is that we have a good car from start to finish, and so far so good.
I hesitate to ask you this, but after last year, how nerve-wracking is it in this moment? I know you have those memories for how things went a couple of times a year ago.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it is tough, and those guys, I mean, obviously you saw when they were fighting it out, and they're instructed to race as hard as possible, but in no way, shape, or form do they touch or cause an incident between each other, and they drove clean. So, you know, so far we're 1-2, and however they finish, we're happy with that.
Fingers crossed. Thanks.
Fingers crossed. Thanks.
Yeah, that was some really close racing that they put on for that sequence of corners.
Well, I think Alvaro recognized he had a window of opportunity. It was right then, right now. And hats off to both of them. He didn't overforce the issue. I think Soule nicely recognized the situation and just opened up his hands so there wasn't contact in turn 15. I think Darren hit the nail on the head to a certain degree in terms of Alvaro did get some traffic, but I think the real key factor was a hot in lap for Baptista compared to a cold out lap for Brent.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like the 24 may be done. That's unfortunate. But, well, and, you know, that's a good point, too, with Soleil. You said, you know, open up the wheels, recognize, you didn't want to have the contact. You know, sometimes you can be right, but so you say, I'm holding my position, and you get clouded and you brake. So it's a lot better, even if you ended up dropping back to second, to get second points and have an opportunity to come back at it. And that's, you know, the racecraft. That's the understanding that a pro has or should have.
A little battle there between the Ferraris. We're looking at that first red Ferrari. There's Anthony Lazzaro. He made a pass there on Beck, going up into the turn 1 brake zone. But this is a driver who's really on the move. Kyle Marcelli aboard the number 80 Acura NSX, the race's edge entry. He has pole for tomorrow. Been laying down some really fast lap times.
And Michael De Quesada did the drive-through, and that's dropped him well back, so that's why he's behind right now, Eversley and Marcelli. And that number 22 Porsche here. And now Marcelli, as you pointed out, has gone around Eversley as well. Yeah, he's flying.
Yeah, it's a change of position on this lap because Eversley had the position the lap before, so Marcelli is really hooked up. He's a great driver. He's managed by Stefan Johansson, who manages guys like Scott Dixon and Felix Rosenquist, and has had some great opportunities which he's performed with last couple of years. Had a couple of GT3 wins last year for Lexus.
Yep. Yeah, he has been impressive.
And he met Martin Barkey back in 2012. He approached him on a sponsorship proposal for his racing, and Martin said thanks, but no thanks. Carl went back to the door a year later, and
I think Martin thought he'd come back for a little less or something.
He did, yeah. He asked for the same number, but convinced Martin it was a good way to go to create a platform for marketing with his business, and he came in there with a really good business proposition that Martin still leverages in terms of entertaining and bringing people to the racetrack and showcasing a business incentive that way, and they've stayed in touch, and now they find themselves driving together. Tell so many drivers this, it's just the networking. You need people to like you, and you're not always going to have the best car and the best day. And there's in the down times where you need people to be supporting you and giving you new opportunities, and I think Carl Marcelli does a great job with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Martin Barkey is just a class act guy on top of it, and has proven to be a very, very fast race driver in GT4 competition in the past. He has been somebody that poles and wins, and very quick. And it's great to see him make the step to the GT3 platform, and to do it with Racer's Edge too, with John Maraki and that crew. They've been racing for so long, and such a great program And to see them get the opportunity to make that big step and do it together, that's cool. Boy, Brent is closing back in.
Yeah, Brent's car looks like it's maintaining its balance a little bit better in this run than Soulei's. So took 3/10 out of the first sector on this lap. Let's see what Sector 2 looks like when they get down towards that brake zone for turn 12 is where Sector 2 finishes. Coming into that zone right now. Soulei responds with a slightly faster sector, so he's not just laying down on him, but looks like a good little battle will ensue here. Just under 30 minutes to go, so you need that balance to stay with you. If you've got any tire degradation going on in terms of losing one end of the car versus the other, that could be a factor here. And Brent just wants to stay close enough to be able to put the heat on if Soulei does back up a little bit.
You always wonder, don't you, when you've got these two-car programs, you know, they say race hard, just don't touch each other. What happens if one of the cars ends up being significantly, clearly quicker than the other one, and he's behind them?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's a tough decision. I mean, there can be instruction from the pit wall, but again, they've employed the best in the business. As we take a little look at the replay here of Brent starting to put the pressure on Soulei here immediately after the round of pit stops exchanged.
This is where
starts to build. Brent has got a bit more grip underneath him. Soulei's just trying to find his feet with tires that aren't quite up to snuff, up to the temperature zone that they need. And this is where it got tricky. Right there, stuffs it down the inside. You can see there, Soulei just opens up the radius to give himself and Brent a little bit of racing room.
And he gave him the room. Alvaro responded when Soulei came back off of that curb. But then, to me, Soulei delivered a little message there because he just came straight back across right in front of him abruptly, and it was like, okay.
Bit of traffic up ahead. Alvaro wanted to try and stay right on his heels in case that creates opportunity as well. Look for any chink in the arsenal.
They're all close to 30 seconds behind.
And some traffic that they're going to be dealing with as well. Here shortly, Hargrove continues to run in third, continues to stay in front and build a little bit of a margin back to Vilander, but they just cannot get within half a second. Been tracking these last laps. Nobody can get within half a second right now, those Bentleys.
They've got a dial.
This is dominance, yeah.
As we said, it's horses for courses. Right now, today, they look unbeatable. You get to another track, and they may be struggling, and it may be Ferrari or Porsche's day, or Acura for that matter. Could be Acura's day tomorrow.
Good, based on what we saw from that qualifying session.
Surprised to see some laps led by Marcelli.
Yeah.
Warning flag to car 6. Track limits 3 times.
It's Antonucci, the U.S. Racetronics Mercedes, 6th in the Pro-Am class right now. Soulei getting around the 991 now in the hands of Coach Husson.
I don't think he was held up at all, so that's good news for him. Yeah, Brent doesn't look any closer. Beck's around.
Yeah, Trevor. These are spooky moments when you're staring at traffic coming at you. Nice job.
Yeah, kept it nice and calm. It's easy to panic.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you just want to get going in the worst possible way, and so at that point you start to make really bad decisions. So
he's a young driver that does not have a lot of racing experience. And his dad, Rich, when he did some Ferrari Challenge stuff, and of course Trevor kind of watched it, and finally on a track day and stuff, they put Trevor in and he did a little driving, and they said, well, he's got some skills. And last season he ran a full season in Ferrari Challenge in the 458 Challenge class, and I think he ended up third in the points and was one of the guys that was constantly in the hunt.
it's a nice transition. I mean, the Ferrari Challenge Series is super competitive. There's various levels and tiers within that. I think if you do the right groundwork, it will prepare you for teams and drivers making a move over to this form of competition. It's not a massive step.
No, it's not.
It's a nice gradual step.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is when you move up to the Copa Shell or Trofeo Pirelli classes, you're running a 488. It's just not the GT3 variant of it, so it doesn't have quite the downforce. But it ends up, because it doesn't have the downforce, it has even a little bit better straight line speed. So as you said, it's not as massive a step as you might think. On board here with Marcelli, what a great camera angle here off the side of the Acura NSX.
Yeah, it's really cool. And down into the brake zone for turn 11.
Marcelli sitting 7th overall right now, 3rd in the Pro-Am category, and he's running pretty darn quick laps. The problem is he's got to make up some 5 seconds, but his last lap was over a second quicker than Olsen's.
Yeah, he'll be digging deep. There's still a lot of time on the board, so if he keeps running the lap times he is, it's not inconceivable that he could catch the 91 Porsche and maybe be in a position to make a move towards the checkered flag here.
Good looking car, too.
Good looking car, and what a performance. I mean, for those guys to lead the opening session here this weekend, grab the second pole of the weekend. They've only had the car 35 days.
Exactly.
And it's just a testimony to a young team making the move from GT4 competition up to the big leagues here. And really, really impressive.
Jeff Siegel, who leads the Pro-Am category, running a solid 5th overall.
He's about as solid as you get.
Yeah.
There's a really impressive simulator business down in Miami that a lot of people leverage and utilize to fine-tune their skills. He's a great coach, and he's won a lot of big races over the years.
Well, in his simulators thing, he does it where you could do it remotely, which is really cool, where if you get the same level of equipment, you link in, you could be wherever you live in Hawaii, and he'll work with you on the sims, and it's very successful.
They've been absolutely flat out, putting in 12-hour days. He said, that's tough. Forget the driver doing the driving, just being there and analyzing the data for that long. That's a long, long day of work.
Right now, Siegel's margin over Olsen is about 11 seconds. Olsen in the 91. Henry Rifles, Wright Motorsport Porsche. But Marcelli continues to run laps that are at least a half to a second quicker oftentimes than Siegel and Olsen. So it's going to be interesting. As you said, there's time.
Yeah. Siegel's got to keep the pressure on. He's only got a couple of second lead here. So he can't afford to relax too much with 20 minutes still on the board. We mentioned they're going to be off to Europe in the full European Le Mans series. Same engineer that's here this weekend is going to be working with them in Europe. They didn't originally intend to do this race, and then there was some problems getting all their testing scheduled, and they said, what better way to get tuned up for the season to come here and run this? And it'd be nice if they could cap it off. The icing on the cake would be a victory, of course.
Absolutely. We're fortunate to have them here. Here's a look at Dennis Olsen in the 91, having taken over from Anthony Imperato.
Originally, it was expected that Romain Dumas, two-time Le Mans winner and Porsche factory driver, would be campaigning here, but there's a little bit of a kind of a clarification of the rules in the driving pairings for Pro-Am. You can have a platinum, as Romain is graded, with a bronze, but Imperato has a bronze star.
Exactly.
Which is a little bit more. So they said, no, you can't have a platinum, you can have a gold. So that was a last minute shuffle. It would have been nice to have Dumas competing in the championship this year.
Yeah, that bronze gold, I mean, I think the FIA rated him as a silver. The series said, no, he's really more of a bronze, but since he's got that silver rating, that's where that issue happened here. It's a good little scrap that's starting to unfold here. James Sifronis in that blue Porsche. in the middle of the sandwich here is trying to chase down Anthony Lazzaro in the 82 Risi Ferrari, and right behind them, I think that's the 99 of Matt Plum.
Yes, Phyllis has been on a bit of a charge here and has got himself up into another podium position. Oh, now he's wide. Something amiss there.
Yes.
What happened? Suddenly way wide. Cut down a left front or something?
Looks like it, yep.
Yeah, left front's down. Just suddenly took off there on the turn into turn 16. Luckily, he wasn't trying to make a move when that happened. He could have taken someone out. He's just kind of out there by himself, and with the runoff that you have here at Circuit of the Americas, could have been a different story at a different racetrack.
And luckily, it happened 3 corners from pit in.
Well, that's unfortunate. That took the sting out of that little battle that was looking quite juicy.
Yeah, he was, as he has been as of late, very, very quick. .22 of Michael De Quesada underneath Eversley. These guys are keeping them as a position.
Overall position.
Straight to the apex. Here comes De Quesada.
Yeah, that was easy.
Yep.
Question of what might have been for the Allegra Motorsports team today.
Yeah.
Certainly a stunning start by Daniel Morad, fighting out with the Bentleys, keeping them in check. And he started to lose the balance on the race car a little bit, then the penalties, near collision with the 24 car.
Keep in mind that green Mercedes, the P1 Mercedes, right behind these guys, that's Maxi Buch, who is a Mercedes factory driver, essentially, that they loan to these teams and has had a lot of championships in European racing. And he is starting to claw his way forward just a little bit. His last lap, by the way, was 2.5 seconds faster than Eversley's.
Wow. Well, I think Eversley's been in that little battle with De Quesada, which has cost him time. And he's not battling. They're not in the same class. So I think Ryan has either had to give it up or has wisely chosen not to battle De Quesada any harder. And he's got to focus more on the guy right behind him, which is a battle for position within the class.
Yeah, Eversley 4th right now in Pro-Am. Buch in the 5th spot.
P1 team has been dramatically revamped in the offseason. A lot of change of personnel. Gary Cummings leading the charge at the beginning of this calendar year. He has now left the team, and some new guys have been brought in. Kent Stacey is now part of the engineering squad. A lot of respect for him over the years. Just really knows his stuff, really sharp, and I expect this team to go from strength to strength with him now on board.
Car 61, final warning before drive-through for track limits.
Now you heard that for Vilander, and he's used that apparently to good effect, because he's found himself back now within 2.5 seconds of Hargrove. He's closed that up and has run a few laps here that are a half second quicker than Hargrove in succession.
But no more track limit violations, otherwise he's going to be doing a drive-through. He's got to be very, very careful with that one. Doesn't want to give it up.
Getting a run here, but this is in that absolutely constant change of direction S's section of the track.
To see the Acura's racy, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, clearly that Evo, and in particular what they've done at the back of the car with the diffuser, which it had been so pitch sensitive, they just couldn't get that to work. That's one of the things that they said. They said the back of the car now. They said I was talking with Marcel, and he said we find now that we have to spend a little bit more time worrying about the front because the back's sticking really, really solidly.
Yeah, certainly has taken the edginess out of the car. I think the NSX had pace, but it was a bit of a beast to really hang on to, and I think it's got a lot bigger comfort zone, and that just, when you get confidence, you just keep pushing further and further, and that results in lap time. So I think the Acura NSX is going to be a definite factor in the championship this year, which is great to see.
There's the margin. You're watching Vilander here. There is Hargrove. That's the margin, 3rd to 4th.
Drive-through penalty to car 2-2.
Another drive-through from the 22 Allegra Porsche.
Not their day.
No, it's not. This is the 991 of Toussaint running in the AM category as the 91 of Olsen goes through.
Who's going to have to hit pit lane, and that may have delayed the 71 car a little bit, taking the heat off of Eversley momentarily at least. Great to see Ryan get another opportunity with the Acura brand here with the customer racing team, Gradient. He helped them out when they ran last year under the CJ Wilson banner initially, before they transitioned over to the Gradient branding. And Ryan was just very open with them, gave them a lot of advice. He'd been running the car, and they came back and said, we respected what you did for us when we were learning, and we've got an opportunity this weekend with Mark Miller having a Trans Am conflict, and he got the seat. So
clear evidence that nice guys don't always finish last.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Ryan coming off a brilliant TCR Drivers' Championship last year with Real Time and Hyundai. Excuse me.
And the interesting thing was, you know, for all the success Ryan's had over the years, all the wins he's been a part of in helping other drivers get, it was his first ever championship. And it's a moment that I will not forget, when he crawled out of the car and he just almost lost it, realizing that finally a major championship. That's some cool stuff. That's some cool stuff.
It didn't come easy there. A lot of heat from the Brian Herder Autosport team that year.
Absolutely. It was one of those, he was just always consistent, and they didn't have any significant car issues. That's a big part of it. Now Wielander's now got that margin down to under a second and a half to Hargrove.
He's got to keep it clean, though. Yeah. I'll tell you what, Scott Hargrove's probably, even though we haven't seen a lot of him in this form of competition, I think last year, I certainly recognize that he is a tough competitor. He's not going to give up this position easy, should Wielander get to him.
Well, and he certainly has the ability to focus. I mean, you remember at St. Pete in the opening sprint race last year in the qualifying session, when he clocked that wall, and they had to do a full rebuild on the car, and he repaid the crew with 2 wins. I mean, not too shabby.
No, he's used to visiting Victory Circle over the years, that's for sure. Had a really good single-seater career going, and just missed, slipped through the net there, but has found his feet once again in GT competition.
Drive-through penalty to car 8-7 and 8 for speeding in the pit lane at pit entry.
It's the number 8. That's the Vital Speed car, and the 87 is the Stephen Cameron Racing BMW of Les Fouges. That's unfortunate.
Look at this. Luke is really close to Eversley now. This will be a fun little battle to the checkered flag.
Yeah, this one and Wielander very close now to Hargrove as well.
Ryan picking up the draft as best he can. Doesn't want to pop out too early. There he goes. Just slips it down to the inside. Late on the brakes. Takes it away. Boop tries to go with him. Does the Ferrari see the second car? That's always the concern, unless he has a spotter.
It looked like Trevor recognized what was happening.
Yeah, nicely done.
Yep. He's a smart young man. Boy, Book rolls some speed here, doesn't he? Look at that.
Eversley had to check up that little moment there to release it.
What a touch.
Little hip check. Has the ability to get pretty feisty here, I think, before the finish.
Like
Ryan's not going to give it to him.
Ooh, Book's got the inside now.
Oh, that was nice.
That was beautiful.
Was classy. That was really sweet. Nice job. That was cool.
Yeah. That takes
Ryan raced him hard, but he was fair. And that's good stuff, because I'm sure they haven't really had that sort of on-track action between each other before.
Around the outside of a triple apex, falling away off camber high-speed corner. That takes some big, big bravado.
And it takes racing respect from the guy on the inside.
Indeed.
So you know Ryan Eversley desperately didn't want to give up that position. It would have been easily just to wash out and take him out, take him to the cleaners, but he didn't do it. Take another look at it.
This was pretty.
This is where it's a really tricky part of the racetrack. When you have the track position, what do you do at this very vital corner, turn 15? You see a little bobble there. He has to give it up. Just slipped a little bit. That allowed Book to get to the outside. Ryan goes and gives him a little rough to try and deter him, but Book just plants it on the outside. And right now, Ryan could have driven him off the road, but he gives him a lane.
Yep.
Which was nice.
And yeah, you're right. He easily could have just drifted wide, forced him off there, had him lift or whatever. Didn't do it. And the nice thing is that stuff comes back to you. You know, you get down the road a race where you might be running with Maxie, and hopefully he'll remember that.
Totally agree.
Here's the 87 doing its drive-through. That's a shame.
It is, but it's great to see Steve Cameron moving up to GT3 competition. Long-time driver of his, Henry Schmidt.
Yep, Les Fouges. It's a good program. And they've made some changes. Another Cameron is now back on top of the box with that team, which is pretty cool, getting them reunited.
Yeah, Ricky Cameron is helping out on the engineering of that car, and big news this week that his son, Dane Cameron, will be at the next round of our championship with real time in an Acura NSX alongside Brett Curtis. Dane has worked with Brett from a coaching capacity a few years, and there's good chemistry in Brett Curtis. We've seen him win GT3 races before, so they have all of the ability and ingredients looking at the pace of the Acura here this weekend to maybe make a splash in that category. They'll run in the Pro-Am category starting at Virginia.
It's starting at Virginia. That's a full season deal, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah.
6 remaining rounds.
Fantastic. Yeah. All right. Coming up on 5 minutes remaining in this opening round of the Blancpain GT World Challenge Americas Championship. Thus, also the opening round of the Blancpain GT World Challenge. A global championship. Manufacturers are the drivers, in a sense, getting behind it, using the 3 Continental Series, America, Asia, and Europe, to make it all happen. Great concept, great new era. And the Vielander got to within 1.2 seconds here. We'll see where he is this time as they come by. Hargrove, Vielander, 1.1. So Hargrove is...
Vielander's relentless. He's going to keep digging deep. Yeah. Love to get on the podium. I think other Bentleys were pretty much untouchable here today, or maybe they didn't know it until the race started, but
yeah,
it was evident pretty early on. Soule has controlled this very nicely. Had the pressure from Brent initially. Then it looked like his balance went away. Brent put the pressure on again, but now he's maintained a nice, comfortable margin, and probably a little bit easier margin for the Capex team to watch from the pit box as well, because it was getting a little bit racier a couple of times in the late going.
Those really are good-looking cars, too. And one thing with all the changes that happened to that car, they moved the engine, but it's the same engine, and it just, there's a unique sound out of that turbo V8 that they've had from the get-go.
Yeah, it's throaty.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a beast.
All right. So, white flag next time by, maybe? You think? way it's looking here.
2 laps to go. It means 2 laps for Hargrove to try and hang on and not let Vilander get any closer to him in that 3rd position.
Siegel has a fair amount of room in the Pro-Am category lead back to the 91 of Olsen. And Marcelli has fought his way up into 3rd, but
he's faded back a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah. And Fuentes has a good little margin in the AM category in the Hublot Squadra Corsa car.
Another win for Martin potentially.
Yes, he's just racking them up. Yeah, yeah. When he won the GTA championship in '16, he had a slew of wins. Last year, he and Cesar had a bunch of wins. Plus, he won a number of the sprint races as well. So, oh, look at this. Vilander's pretty much there.
He is right there. Okay, let's see how young Scott deals with this pressure from a veteran right behind him. Wasn't sure we were going to see Tony Vilander in competition here this year. He made a commitment to another sports car championship early in the going. He's got Finnish F1 TV commitments, got 2 kids now in the family. He said, I just don't have enough time in the year, but probably Ferrari lent on him a little bit to commit a few more days to his program, and here we see him again with our Ferry defending their titles.
You can see the graphic on the left showing the standings in the Pro-Am category, but all eyes right now on this battle. Vilander is there in terms of battling with Hargrove at this stage. Meanwhile, watching for the white flag to come out here. There it is, 1 to go. Maxime Soulet and Parent come through.
Last lap.
A sizable margin over everybody else. A comfortable margin now for Soulet to Parent. Darren Law fighting, look at it, still crossing the fingers, but can't fight the grin.
Well, Darren just texted me with the information. He said if we win, it'll be the first win globally for the new Bentley, and he said we did the same thing with the McLaren 650S GT3 machine, so a lot of pride in that camp if they can just bring it home. They've got 2 cars leading the race, so you'd have to think at least one of them get there first.
Yeah, absolutely. Soulet now 5 seconds over Parent, so he can be patient as he is here, trying to work around the 22, doesn't have to force it. Meanwhile, Vilander and Hargrove at the line. You could see how close it was, but under half a second at this stage in that battle for the final podium spot and crucial points in this championship.
Yeah, and you'd have to think that Ferrari will be a little bit stronger at this end of the stint than the Porsche potentially, so Hargrove is going to have to hang on. He's going to see that first podium for Wright Motorsports this year. Again, I think that that 1 lap difference in the first stint is really the difference between these 2 Bentleys in terms of the track position, Greg.
Yes.
22 car maybe in trouble.
Yeah, that or he's just, recognized there's nobody around me that I'm battling. Let's just let these guys through as well, possibly. So last time through the stadium section, last time through the fast Triple Apex right-handers, turn 16, 17, and 18. Giving himself plenty of room. That turn in through 19. 1 more turn to go. And onto the front straight. Bentley and the brand new Continental GT3R will take a win here at Circuit of the Americas, and there's the 2nd place car. And there's the winning AM car, Martin Fuentes and Cesar Baccarella, doing it 1 more time in the Hublot Ferrari, just adding that wins tally as they do. Just phenomenal. Here's that battle.
Final podium position overall. Hargrove still has it. Vilander pushing hard right till the end. 2 corners to go. Hargrove really wide there through 19. Vilander goes with him. Remember those track limits. He's got no more freebies. Just pushing, digging deep.
Onto the front straight. Short run to the checkers, and there it is. Hargrove in the 58 Wright Porsche brings it home in third. Vilander in fourth. And there is your Pro-Am winner, the black TR3 Ferrari of Jeff Siegel and Wei Lu, as they cross the stripe as well. Great run. It's the number 91, second in Pro-Am of Olsen, the team car from Wright Motorsports. And there are those two Bentleys, Cal. And I think they've earned to do a lap of honor in formation here.
Yeah,
wow,
dominant win. Dominant win. 1-2 finish. Goes for that car globally. Great stuff. They'll celebrate tonight, but they got their work cut out tomorrow, Greg, starting from the third and sixth rows of the grid.
Yeah, they absolutely do. But I'll tell you, and then the strategy for the number 3 car in that two-team program to do, as you said, the overcut, and they executed it beautifully, didn't they?
They did. It's a tough position to be in. You don't want to give it away by waiting and gambling, and if there's a yellow after some of the others have pitted, you'd hate for a yellow to create a situation, but you got to create a safety net against that. So I think that's why the 9 car pitted. And then with the 3 cars staying out, it just gave that hot lap to Baptista compared to Alvaro's out lap and got the track position, and Soule was able to hang on, even though he had immense pressure there for a couple of corners.
Yeah, and then those two guys, I mean, they defined the team orders of racing together. Race hard, don't touch. And they did. That was great stuff. And it was fun watching Vilander's charge at the end, getting within half a second of Hargrove.
No one, Tony, you will not be happy with that.
I think you are absolutely right. And then licking our chops to see what Marcelli and Barkley can do tomorrow in the Racer's Edge Acura. Yeah, it's going to be fun stuff.
Big win for Sebastian there, the engineer of the 3 car. It's 3 in a row, remember. Baptista took the final 2 rounds last year. So these guys won together at VIR, in Sprint competition, Soule and Baptista. So they've been here before Victory Lane.
Yeah, overall win there. Exactly, they've done it. They did it dominant here, along with the team car in this one, as they both make their way down into the podium area here at Circuit of the Americas. Podium just up and to the right. Crawling out of that car, look at that. Maxime Soule, Mad Max maybe, huh? Just a great job. That is a little bit, yeah. We just mentioned that helmet's got a James Hunt kind of feel to it, doesn't it?
It does.
Back in the day.
There's Alvaro.
Yeah.
Good respect there. Gave each other some racing room.
Yeah.
But both guys going for it. Brent wasn't going to hand it to him. He made him work for it. Just 2 pros racing hard for the victory.
Yeah. Great stuff. Great stuff. Again, Hargrove third, completing the podium. Vilander fourth, and Siegel and Wei Lu. That was completing the top 5 and the top of the box for the Pro-Am category. Look at that. Great moment. Those two guys drove a brilliant race. And I think we are ready to get down to Ryan Marine with our winning duo.
Maxime Soule, victorious here in race 1 at Circuit of the Americas, but you had to fight your teammate very hard to get this win. Take us through the mindset of not just fighting for a race lead and a race win, but doing so with your teammates.
No, but I knew it was going to be like that because he went out 1 lap earlier, so his tires were already hot. So I had to keep him. I didn't know I was in front, but then I saw the big Bentley light. I was like, oh. And then I had to keep him behind, and then I managed the pace at the end. You know, but we had team orders, so it was okay.
To take the first win globally for this second generation Bentley Continental GT3, how special of an achievement is that?
First, it proved that the car is good. I think we were waiting for the win of the Gen 2 car for almost a year now. And, I mean, more than happy, you know.
Congratulations. Let's bring in Rodrigo Baptista as well. A fantastic opening stint for you, but you were kind of in the wars as well, had a little bit of contact early. You didn't let that phase you at all. What was your drive like today?
No, so for sure. Just thank the team. Did a great job in the car. And You know, on the first lap when I start, I honestly, I said tomorrow that I didn't see him on the outside, so I pushed a little bit to the outside, but then was just a small contact, so didn't hurt the car at all. And then the car was good, you know, it was perfect. We did a great job on the pit stop, so yeah.
Well, congratulations. A great win for you, Rodrigo. Let's continue to move down, as earlier today we had the first win, the first pole of the new Bentley Continental GT3. We also had the first win a few moments ago, and now our winners in Pro-Am, Wei Lu, Jeff Siegel. Guys, I understand this was not supposed to happen. You weren't supposed to be here until kind of the last minute. Wei, was it the right choice?
I miss you guys. I want to be back. I have to do this. Had a great team. Engineer gave us a really good car to drive. The team did the best pit stop ever. And my coach is holding my hands, trying to make me a better driver. This is the best weekend I could ever hope for.
What is it about you and this place? You were stellar on debut last year here at Circuit of the Americas and very fast once again today.
Because this place was the only track I've been to last year. All the others were new, so I'm back again. More experience, more seat time. I guess it worked.
I guess so. Let's talk to the coach, Jeff. I know you've been helping him along, but, man, at a certain point you can let go of his hand, right?
Yeah, I think I have to be careful not to help him too much. I just can't say enough about these TR3 racing guys. Everything came together very late, but we know what we have with them. The Romanelli family, they do a great job. Their heart is in this, and it shows. So the car was just fantastic, but I have to say star of the day is Wei. I mean, last year he impressed. Last year he raised some eyebrows, but the transformation over the winter, we were in the pro race. It's unbelievable. I can't ask for a better co-driver.
Well, great job. Welcome back to the series. Glad to have you here. Enjoy the win.
Yeah, I mean, just watching that transformation of Wei Lu from what we saw a number of years ago in touring car B and minis to what he's doing now, you certainly have to give Jeff Siegel a fair amount of credit for that. But clearly, it was in Wei to be able to do this.
Oh, he was just hanging on to that lead pro pack.
He was. It was wonderful.
He wasn't going away at all.
All right, and you want a little enthusiasm? Let's get down and hear from our AM winners with Ryan.
The dynamic duo of Martin Fuentes and Cesar Baccarella are back and in fine form. Congratulations on a season-opening win.
Thank you. We love Austin. We love this track. We always come here to test, and so, I mean, I couldn't expect less from Cesar. He drove amazing. He drove well. He drove aggressive, and then he just gave me the car in P1, so I just kept it like that, and amazing drive from Cesar, amazing drive from everyone.
And Cesar, you had the tune-up to this on the high banks at Daytona, running the oval. Does that help at all to get you prepared?
No, totally different. It's like ice skating and riding a bike, so that's totally different. But we love this track. This is one of our favorite tracks. And to come back here and this strong, we're super excited about it.
Well done to you both, and best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you. Looking forward for another race.
Thanks.
Yeah, Cal, you said earlier that Cesar Baccarella, you said, is a big personality. You have to be if you're going to race alongside Martin Fuentes. You know, he is Mr. Effervescence.
Yes.
And, just great to see them being able to continue that run of success as we take a look at the provisional results here from race 1. And it's easy to tell if the number panel there on the right is white. That is a pro class. If it says black, it's a pro-am, and if it's red, it's the am. So you can see where everybody finished. But I'll tell you, that 5th overall for Wei Lu and Jeff Siegel, that's pretty remarkable.
Very, very good. I mean, you can see only 9 seconds back of the lead pro pack, and Jeff said it all. I mean, we were in the pro race, and they literally were.
And we would expect the same here. And, again, when we get ready for the second round of the championship tomorrow, the grid the qualifying has already been established for that one, and you've alluded to it just a little bit, but that number 80, the Acura NSX from Racer's Edge, the lap by Kyle Marcelli, they start up front. Maxi Book put the P1 car up into second. There's a lot that's going to cycle and flip and change, at least in the early going.
Yeah, and the Bentleys line up 6th and 12th, so expect some fireworks.
Absolutely, and Daniel Murad and Michael De Quesada doing a nice job in that second qualifying. Michael bringing that Allegra car up into the 3rd spot again, having a solid run. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun to call, I think. And the question will be the weather, and it seems to be changing rapidly. And as I often say, the weather forecast seems to be depending on whatever app you're using. But it's going to be a little sketchy, certainly. So, and we'll have to watch for that and see how that all plays out and unfolds right now. Of course, now all the teams making their way over to the podium for those celebrations, and you can see some of the car parades. You got car corrals, etc. here that get out and get a chance to do a lap. Let's go back and take a look at some highlights from this one. And at the start, Bentley's on the front row, but it was Daniel Murad with an aggressive move early.
Yeah, he was looking really racy. That Allegra Porsche came alive, started to put the pressure on the Bentleys. Molina didn't have the best start. Looked like Pat Long was going to take advantage of side by side there on the exit of turn 1. Eventually, Molina gets it. And a big moment in this race, David Askew gets it a little bit wrong through the S's. Heavy impact.
And that caused a red flag stoppage of some 15 minutes. Then when we got back to racing, we had a very close quarters battle unfold.
This is between the Allegra Motorsports Porsche of Daniel Morad and Miguel Molina. Then the two Allegra cars almost got together here. Wolf Hensler up and over the curbing, clips his teammate, just gets away with it. But it wasn't the best of finishes on the day for the two Allegra Porsches that had shown tremendous speed.
Yeah, you can see that little bit of a ding on the left front corner of that car, and it eventually ended up retiring. Then this battle after the pit stop sequence, when, as you've said, Cal, Parent sensed his lone, perhaps, opportunity.
Yeah, he had to put the pressure on. Soule was a little bit vulnerable at this stage of the game, trying to get tire temperature in to his race car. Brent has a lap more temperature in them. He looks to the inside into turn 15. Soule just opens it up enough so there's no contact, and eventually took the victory.
And that little last-minute juke to the left, I think, was the message, like, all right, you had your chance. I was able to defend. Let's get after it here. And boy, did they, as they just took off and ended up with a dominant win, some 30-plus seconds clear of the rest of the field. Late in the going, though, this wonderful battle unfolded, and Maxi Book able to get inside Eversley.
Yeah, really impressive there. A little hip check as they accelerate off of turn 15. Book goes to the outside, and Eversley gives him just enough racing room for Maxi to pull off a brilliant move and take that position away from the Acura.
Yeah, outside for that 3 Apex right-hander. That was spectacular stuff. He picks that spot up. But at the end, here we go. Maxime Soule getting the first win for the new Bentley Continental GT3 as he and Baptista bring it across. Absolutely superb after a great qualifying effort by this team. A 1-2 finish, and as I said, a dominant one at that. And some 30-plus seconds clear of the field. Hargrove completing the podium in the overall order here at this stage. See one of the pylons here giving that information as well. And we're coming up on dark here, aren't we?
That was a big day of racing, mate.
Oh,
lots of fun. Great way to start the championship season.
Absolutely. We've got 2 qualifying sessions, 4 races, and we get to...
red flag.
Red flag, the whole thing.
A little bit more time on the table.
That's right. That's right. Thank you to Ryan Marine for staying real busy during that red flag. We appreciate that. Absolutely. So let's take a look at the results from the individual categories here in the pro category. The Bentley 1-2 with Long and Hargrove in the Wright Motorsport Porsche completing the podium. Delander and Molina 4th in the R Ferry Ferrari. The Porsche from Allegra Motorsports, the 22, bringing it home 5th. Murad and Michael de Quesada. And then the team car of Holzer and Hensler ending up in the 6th spot. And as you can see, a number of laps down due to an early retirement.
That's big because they're not going to score points. You have to do 75% of the laps of the leaders, so they're not going to hit that mark. They'll get a 0-point score. That's big in the championship.
Very big, very big. Take a look at the AM category results. And again, Wei Lu and Jeff Siegel in the pro battle throughout in the TR3 Ferrari. The second of the Wright Motorsports Porsches, the Henry Rifle entry of Imperato and Olsen finished second. Martin Barkey and Kyle Marcelli. Marcelli was throwing some laps down at the end up 3rd in the Acura NSX from Racer's Edge. 4th, the P1 Mercedes, Maxi Book with that beautiful pass, jumping up into the 4th spot with team owner and driver J.C. Perez. And then in the 5th spot, Till Bechtelsheimer and Ryan Eversley in the new Gradient Motorsport Acura. I think doing a very nice job.
Yeah, it was a great performance by that team. And Till Bechtelsheimer was really impressive. Ryan obviously had a great race there at the end with Buick for position, but Till did an awesome job in the opening stint as well.
And then the AM class, Baccarella and Fuentes doing what they do, it seems, and bringing home the win. 2nd spot was the Risi number 82 Ferrari Mazzaro and Mulacek. And 3rd, the 111 Ferrari of Cagnazzi doing a great job as well. So look at this. Here we go. The celebrations begin. This is the AM category. And there is the 111 duo. Here comes the Reese duo of Lazaro and Molechek as they finish in the second spot. And with the win, here we go. The presentation is going to be presented to Martin Fuentes and Cesar Baccarella from Squadra Corsa Garage Italia and the Hublot Ferrari as they come to the top step of the podium and add another win to the group that they are quickly building here. And what a run they put in here. And Brian Kaminsky, of course, Cagnazzi's starting driver in that 111 competition Ferrari.
Thank you.
Very, very special moment here. And this is a podium that has seen some pretty august talent on it as well. So I think it's very special when this moment happens here. And then there's the bubbly.
For the ladies to escape, I would think.
Yeah. Run away. Run away. Nice job. Always great to see Anthony Lazaro.
He always performs, doesn't he?
He does. He does. He's become also really renowned as a coach for Ferrari Challenge competition, but relishes any opportunity to get back behind the wheel.
Well, co-drivers love him and teams love him because he knows that he's going to bring the best out of his teammates and all of the drivers that he coaches and mentors.
Absolutely, a great job there. So now we will move to the next category, and our trophy presenters make their way up, and of course it is the Pro-Am category. And here we go. Martin Barkey and Kyle Marcelli in the MBRP Performance Exhaust Racer's Edge Acura NSX come up for their pictures.
They have to be really, really pleased with that performance as a group. Martin did a great opening stint. Kyle really impressive with his lap times. They'll start from the pole tomorrow overall. And just Racer's Edge, they've got to be ecstatic. That's just a tremendous performance, a great story, maybe one of the best stories of the day.
I think so. I think absolutely correct. Here comes the second place. And again, Anthony Imperato in that Wright Motorsports driver suit. And then the Porsche Motorsport entry, that's Dennis Olsen, the Norwegian driver that came in and did an absolutely stellar job. And they had to get somebody to replace Romain Dumas. He did a pretty solid job of it. And here come your winners. And again, what a story it is. Wei Lu and Jeff Siegel for TR3 Racing in the Ferrari.
Up on high, please.
Get those pictures flashing.
Dennis not taking instruction well there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And there's the spray. Congratulations. And I've often wondered about this. They must have. Either they have a second driver suit or they must have washing machines inside those rigs because sweat and champagne.
Yeah, it's an ugly mix.
It is.
Fortunately, it's not too hot.
Yeah, that helps.
The temperature to it as well.
Good point. Nicely done. And now to the overall and pro podium.
Boys are having some fun back there. You can't celebrate too much tonight. You got to reset and get ready for tomorrow.
Certainly enjoying the moment as you would expect here. So let's bring them out now. Finishing third in the overall, the number 58, Wright Motorsports Porsche Consulting Porsche drivers, Scott Hargrove and Pat Long.
Second podium result of the day for the Wright Motorsports Group. They've got to be happy with that.
Absolutely.
The Porsche, and I have to say, best in class the way those Bentleys are running.
Yeah.
They're going to be tough to beat by anyone.
Now, speaking of Bentleys, let's bring up the second place finishing car from Capex Racing in the new Bentley Continental GT3, Alvaro Parent and Andy Suchek. Alvaro from Porto, Portugal, and Andy from Spain.
Big teammates before. One McLaren, and here they come, the winners. What a performance, what an execution.
Yeah, Maxime Soulet and Rodrigo Baptista. The international flavor here. Brazilian and a Belgian. And pros all, no question. And there they go.
Act like you're happy to be
Trophies
there.
aloft.
Congratulations to our podium.
I've done a number of these podiums, and there's always the one driver who just. I'm sorry, what?
And now we'd like to bring out Darren Law.
Must be that position, because
It's got-
Olsen had the same
That was
problem.
right. That was right. All right, and now the moment that they really wait for. They love the trophies, but this is a special one here. Darren Law comes up.
He's got to be
Blancpain.
stoked.
Yeah.
Big moment for that team, getting
You
that
bet.
first victory for the second generation Bentley Continental GT3.
Yep. The Blancpain, title sponsor of the championship. Great job.
Do want to mention a quick thanks
And
to
of
our
course, now you have to acknowledge some of the sponsors of the championship. So do a little bit of a hat change and take a few more pictures. Hold those trophies up a little bit more. Get a little thirstier. The bubbly taste better.
That's right.
You miss these moments?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they were special,
Yeah,
weren't they?
yeah, very cool. There's nothing like driving into a racetrack, I think, in at the beginning of the day and having that feeling that if you execute, you can potentially win, and then putting it all together is a special moment for you and your teammates, certainly when you're co-driving in the team.
Yep.
It's very much a team sport, even though the drivers are spraying the champagne.
Well, that's one of the nice things is you often see the drivers will save a little bit of that champagne and take it over to their crews and say, enjoy it here. So, as you can see, we have come right up against darkness here at the first day of racing activity here at Circuit of the Americas for the Blancpain GT World Challenge Americas. But we will be back with you tomorrow with another set of races for every category here. We look forward to bringing it to you. For Cal and for Ryan Marine, I'm Greg Creamer. Have a great night.